Chapter 961. A Terrifying New Student. The 13 people in luxurious armor stared at Wang Xian with displeasure. Their faces gradually darkened. Especially the middle-aged man on the left. He raised his eyebrows coldly. With their status, and strength, who wouldn't give them face in Dahai City? The kid in front of them actually told them to scram? No matter how good their tempers were, they still looked at this young man with dissatisfaction. Hee, don't challenge my patience. Scram! When Wang Xian saw that more than 10 members of the mercenary group dared to surround him, a hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Kid, you're really arrogant. The corner of the middle-aged man's mouth curled up slightly. A playful look appeared on his face as he slowly walked toward Wang Xian. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man. His silver-white armor shone brightly under the sunlight. There was a black-like character on his chest. He raised his head slightly and looked at the middle-aged man. Wang Xian looked at the middle-aged man and smiled. He stood up with a smile on his face. What? What? I'm going to educate you. The middle-aged man chuckled. His body suddenly moved and transformed into numerous shadows. He attacked Wang Xian at a terrifying speed. Seeing this scene, a ferocious look flashed across Elder Zhao's eyes. He lowered his head slowly, and his face gradually turned ferocious. With just you? Wang Xian saw the middle-aged man's figure, and a mocking look appeared on his face. He moved his arm. Boom! Scorching flames instantly covered his arm. His entire arm turned into 2 to 3 meters in size. The middle-aged man's body was instantly grabbed by Wang Xian. The terrifying flames caused his expression to change drastically. This? The middle-aged man widened his eyes as he looked at the palm that was grabbing onto him. His eyes revealed a look of horror. The faces of the 12 middle-aged men behind him changed slightly. Stop! The green-armored old man who was standing at the front had a solemn expression. His body moved and appeared in front of Wang Xian in an instant. A terrifying aura came over. The terrifying pressure caused the expressions of everyone around to change drastically. Let go! The green-armored elder stared at Wang Xian coldly as he spoke in a deep voice. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly and looked at the elder. He said coldly, It seems like all of you want to die here. Huh! The green-armored elder's expression changed slightly as he stared at Wang Xian with a burning gaze. What an arrogant brat! He wants all of us to die here. Ha, then let us see if you have the qualifications to speak to us like this. Another white-haired old man grunted angrily, and came to the side of the green-armored old man. A strong murderous aura emanated from his body. The other 10 men also emitted a terrifying pressure and surrounded Wang Xian and the rest. You're courting death. You're really courting death. Kill this bastard brat. He spoke rudely and arrogantly. He's courting death. How dare he provoke a bunch of adults? Behind them, a group of people from the Chamber of Commerce and the mercenary group stared at Wang Xian and the rest coldly. Their eyes were filled with both shock and anger as they shouted loudly from behind. One of their hands grabbed onto the body of an expert. This strength was a little terrifying. The strength of this group of people is not lower than level 6 of the extraordinaire. For that brat to be able to capture one of them so easily, his strength is not weaker than level 7 of the extraordinaire. No wonder he was able to kill Deputy Captain Ling and the rest. Elder Xiao and Supervisor Du's expressions changed. However, since he dared to provoke this group of powerhouses, he is simply courting death. Such an ungrateful kid. Sir, teach them a good lesson. The 2 of them echoed as they spoke to the green-armored elder and the rest. A bunch of scoundrels. Not long ago, I let all of you off. This time, it won't be as simple as that. Wang Xian's gaze swept across the group of people who were shouting arrogantly behind him. His eyes revealed a cold expression. If we have anything to say, we can talk it out. When Father Zhou saw this situation, his forehead was filled with cold sweat. He hurriedly spoke loudly. However, everyone ignored him. A terrifying aura slowly condensed from Wang Xian's body. A murderous aura condensed as the strength and flames in his hands slowly rose. The face of the middle-aged man who was held by Wang Xian changed drastically. He felt that the other party could kill him at any time. Wait! At this moment, a panicked voice was heard. A figure hurriedly ran to the center of Wang Xian and the group of people in front of him. He looked at the group of the green-armored elder, and his gaze landed on the only woman among them. The woman had short hair and exuded a vigorous aura. She held a short sword in her hand and looked valiant. Teacher Baiwen, it's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding! Jin Luyan quickly shouted at the woman. Huh! The woman holding the short sword was slightly stunned. She raised her eyebrows and looked at Jin Luyan. Who are you? I'm a student of the East Ocean Academy. Teacher Baiwen, I know you! Jin Luyan said hurriedly and looked at Wang Xian. Wang Xian was slightly puzzled and the strength in his hand loosened a little. A student of the East Ocean Academy? Who is he to you? The old man in green armor asked Jin Luyan with a sullen face. Jin Luyan looked at the woman and then at Wang Xian. She said bitterly, Captain Wang, Baiwen is a teacher of the Demon Hunters Academy. Huh! Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. A teacher of the Demon Hunters Academy? This was a little troublesome. He had not even enrolled in the academy yet, and had already offended a teacher. It was not a good thing. Young lady, what are you trying to say? Baiwen looked at Jin Luyan and asked with a frown. This, Teacher Baiwen, Commander Wang is a new student of the Demon Hunters Academy. You are a teacher of the Demon Hunters Academy. We are all on the same side. Don't make such a fuss, Jin Luyan said bitterly. However, when Baiwen heard Jin Luyan's words, he widened his eyes and looked at Wang Xian in disbelief. Even the rest of them had a slight change in expression as they stared at Wang Xian in unison. It is even more unforgivable for a subordinate to offend his superior. What right does such a person have to enter the Demon Hunters Academy? However, Elder Zhao's anxious voice was heard from behind. He had created such a situation with great difficulty. Now that both parties were involved, how could he let them be so kind? Shut up! HMPH! All of you are not good people! Jin Luyan heard Elder Zhao's shout and shouted at him angrily. Cough cough, I'm also a teacher of the Demon Hunters Academy. The middle-aged man who was caught by Wang Xian coughed with a flushed face and said in a low voice. Jin Luyan was stunned. She turned her head around in astonishment. The corner of Wang Xian's mouth twitched. He looked at the instructor of the Demon Hunters Academy who was caught by him. I am the vice principal of the Demon Hunters Academy. At this moment, the voice of the green-armored old man was heard. He kept the long saber in his hand back into his interspatial ring. He sized up Wang Xian with a surprised and weird expression. I am the dean of the Order Department of the Demon Hunters Academy, the white-haired old man said in a deep voice with a twinkle in his eyes. Jin Luyan, Zhou Hanin, Father Zhou, and even Wang Xian and the rest were dumbfounded. They had already started a fight with the higher-ups of the academy before the start of the semester? Chapter 962. The young man was not bad. The atmosphere was a little quiet. Even the people from the Chamber of Commerce and the mercenary group behind were dumbfounded. What the hell was going on? That young man was a new student of the Demon Hunter College, and this group of people were the higher-ups of the Demon Hunter College. They were in a standoff now? What the hell? Wang Xian did not expect this group of people to be the higher-ups of the Demon Hunter College. He thought that they were the mercenary group hired by the Ivy and Zhou Chamber of Commerce. Therefore, he didn't have a good impression of them. However, he didn't expect them to be the higher-ups of the Demon Hunter College. They hadn't even entered the college yet, and were already fighting with the higher-ups of the college. How were they supposed to continue their studies? Wang Xian was a little embarrassed. He had sensed the strength of this group of people just now. The green-armored elder was at level 8, while the rest were at level 7 and level 6. The lowest level was level 6. However, with his strength and the strength of the strange demon, he wasn't afraid of them at all. That was why he didn't hold back at all. However, he didn't expect that. Teacher, I'm sorry! Wang Xian moved his palm slightly and placed the middle-aged man down. It was really a sin to accidentally torture a teacher. The expression on the middle-aged man's face was also very interesting. His body moved and he immediately came to the side of the green-armored old man. Are you really a new student of the Demon Hunter College? The green-armored old man asked in astonishment when he saw Wang Xian let go of the middle-aged man. Yes. Wang Xian moved his palm and a notice of admission for the Demon Hunter College appeared in his hand. Are you a new student? The white-haired old man beside him still found it unbelievable and couldn't help but ask. Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head. This time, the expressions of the group of people became even more interesting. A new student was able to pinch an elite instructor of the academy with one hand. His strength was at least at level 7 of the supernatural realm. Just now, they were still bewildered. Where did this monstrous young man come from? He actually possessed such terrifying strength. But never did they expect that in the blink of an eye, he would become a new student of their academy. I never thought that our academy would actually have such a terrifying new student, it's really. The azure-armored old man didn't know what to say. To the Demon Hunter Academy, having a monstrous new student within the academy was definitely a joyous occasion. But the situation before their eyes. The young man's strength is very strong, and being young and frivolous is also a good thing, but you can't go too far, or else you might suffer a loss. The green-armored old man really wanted to say that young people shouldn't be too arrogant, but after thinking about it, he changed his words. Such a monstrous young man, wasn't it normal for him to be arrogant? Especially since he was a student of their Demon Hunter Academy, he should be confident and arrogant. Dean, there might be a misunderstanding between us. We were originally in the same caravan as them, but they threatened us, asking us to take out more resources. We had no choice but to leave their caravan, Jean Luyan said immediately. That's right, Director. Commander Wang and the rest were hired by us. We thought that you were in cahoots with them. That's why we were so rude to you when we met just now. Johannan also walked out and said to the green-armored elder. Oh? I see. The green-armored elder pondered for a moment and nodded slowly. Since it's a misunderstanding, let's not be so hostile. I'm sorry, Director. It might really be a misunderstanding. Wang Xian nodded as well. With a move of his arm, a corpse was thrown from his interspatial ring to Supervisor Du and Elder Xiao. Pun! The deputy leader of the Spirit Beast mercenary group was sent by you guys to kill us, right? Wang Xian swept his cold gaze across the two of them. It's Deputy Leader Ling's corpse. How could it be? Why would Deputy Leader Ling's corpse be with them? Could it be that the Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and the Xiao Chamber of Commerce sent Vice Leader Ling to assassinate the Zhou Chamber of Commerce? It must be. For the fierce beast corpse on the body of the Zhou Chamber of Commerce. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. Elder Xiao and Supervisor Du's pupils couldn't help but shrink when they saw the corpse. The people of the Chamber of Commerce and the mercenary group behind all widened their eyes and discussed with gloomy faces. They finally understood that the reason why the Ivy and Xiao Chamber of Commerce didn't allow them to hijack the Zhou Chamber of Commerce was because they wanted to do it themselves and obtain the money. It wasn't a righteous act at all. Crafty, really crafty. What? The people from the Spirit Beast mercenary group came to assassinate us. Father Zhou and the rest were also slightly stunned. Their faces revealed an embarrassed expression. They were trying to exterminate all of them. If it wasn't for Wang Xian, they would definitely be dead by now. The green-armored elder finally understood from the discussion of the people behind him. His face immediately darkened. They were being used. He didn't expect them to be used. They saved a bunch of people who shouldn't be saved. Wang Xian took a deep look at Supervisor Du and Elder Xiao. Then, he swept his gaze across all the people from the Chamber of Commerce and the mercenary group. Vice Principal, dear teachers, we can be considered to have gotten to know each other without fighting. It was my student who was reckless just now. I can only take out some food to apologize. Following that, Wang Xian took out 3 ghost-faced crabs with a smile and said to them, "Haha, good, good. I really didn't expect that our EC Demon Hunters Academy would produce such a monstrous new student." The green-armored elder laughed and waved his hand. Everyone walked over and said, "This is a slap in the face. However, we are very happy to see such a prodigy enter our Demon Hunters Academy. Are the students nowadays so terrifying?" The middle-aged man who was held by Wang Xian shook his head bitterly. "That's right. He's already qualified to be a teacher in our academy." A few middle-aged elders beside him nodded their heads in agreement. A new student who possessed the strength of a violent teacher was so freakish that he was the only one in the Demon Hunters Academy. However, the appearance of such a student was also of great benefit to the entire academy. "Come, come, teachers and principals. Let us cook for you." Hee hee. Father Zhou was excited when he saw this scene. He quickly prepared himself. Wang Xian invited them to sit down and started a conversation with them. The teachers and vice principals of the Demon Hunters Academy were extremely curious about Wang Xian. They kept asking him all sorts of questions. The vice principals even invited Wang Xian to join the East Ocean Demon Hunters Academy after he graduated. Not only that, they even offered him a lot of benefits when the school was about to start. The deputy dean even waved his hand and gave Wang Xian a house that was close to the Demon Hunters Academy. They wanted to recruit Wang Xian. Such a young and terrifying student, they naturally wanted to recruit him. After witnessing his strength, it could no longer be described as a genius. Now, with Wang Xian's strength, he could be considered as a powerhouse. A powerhouse that could intimidate an entire region. It was definitely worth it to befriend such a powerhouse with unlimited potential. Chapter 963 A Heavy Price to Pay. The green-armored old man had the surname of Xia. He was the deputy dean of the Demon Hunter College, an expert at Transcendent Level 8. Jin Luyan and Zhou Henan, who were at the side, widened their eyes when they heard the conversation between Dean Xia and Wang Xian. To a freshman who had yet to enroll in the Demon Hunter College who wanted him to stay in the college after graduation, the college would gift him a house directly? He could even come to the college directly if he needed anything. Each of these conditions was something that all the students of the Demon Hunters Academy yearned for. Which student of the Demon Hunters Academy didn't wish to stay in the academy and enjoy an extremely high salary, social status, and background? However, the vice dean of the academy had promised these conditions to a new student. If others were to find out, they would definitely be envious. However, with Wang Xian's talent, strength, and potential, he was definitely qualified to enjoy these resources. At the side, everyone in the merchant caravan who saw this scene had shocked expressions on their faces. They stared at this scene with their mouths agape. Elder Xiao and Supervisor Du's expressions were even more embarrassed and desperate. They stood at the side nervously. Their expressions kept changing and they were filled with worry. "Student Wang Xian, we still have an urgent mission to complete. We won't disturb you anymore. The Demon Hunters Academy will officially start its semester in 2 days. I'll bring you to meet the other higher-ups of our academy," Vice President Xia said to Wang Xian. "All right, see you then." Wang Xian nodded with a smile. "Then we'll take our leave first." Vice Principal Xia and the rest stood up and cupped their fists at Wang Xian. With this attitude, they didn't treat Wang Xian as a student of the Demon Hunters Academy. After all, Wang Xian was too strong. They didn't dare to raise their status. Especially the middle-aged instructor who was controlled by Wang Xian. His face was filled with bitterness. Being beaten up by a student, he was the first in the Demon Hunters Academy. "Goodbye." Wang Xian smiled and waved his hand. Vice Principal Xia and the other 13 people moved and flew towards the back. When the members of the caravan saw them leaving, their expressions changed drastically. "My lords, without you guys, how are we going to go back?" An old man shouted at them in panic. However, Vice Principal Xia did not pay any attention to them. What should we do?" In an instant, everyone was terrified. With their abilities, it was extremely difficult for them to cross the Wind Arrow Mountain. If it was like the last time, all of them would die here. Elder Shao, Supervisor Du, please give us an explanation. At this moment, Wang Xian's voice rang out. Everyone looked at Wang Xian, who was sitting there and calmly tasting the ghost-faced crab meat. In the end, everyone's gaze was focused on the Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and the Shao family Chamber of Commerce. Elder Shao and Supervisor Du's expressions changed drastically. They lowered their heads slowly and did not speak. Green Vine Chamber of Commerce, Shao family Chamber of Commerce, you guys are really cunning and cunning. You actually ordered the Spirit Beast mercenary group to assassinate the Zhou family Chamber of Commerce. You want to murder them for money. Now, hurry up and compensate them. That's right. Elder Shao, Supervisor Du, I didn't expect you guys to do such a thing. Leader Wang, what they did has nothing to do with us. We are willing to give you guys a sum of money. We hope that you guys can bring us along. We will use all the resources that the Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and the Shao Chamber of Commerce sent this time to make up for their mistakes. Leader Wang, please let us follow you guys. The people in charge of the Chamber of Commerce suddenly spoke up. They looked at old Shao and old Du in disgust as they tried to curry favor with Wang Xian. You bunch of bastards. Upon hearing the words of the members of the Chamber of Commerce around them, Manager Du and Old Shao glared at them angrily and shouted loudly. Manager Du, Old Shao, you guys better shut up. If it wasn't for you guys, we would have been able to get to this stage. You guys are cunning and vicious. Humph, people like you guys should be thrown into the wilderness. That's right. A perfectly fine caravan almost killed all of us because of you. The group of people in charge of the Chamber of Commerce said sharply. You still dare to talk about me? Who was the one who said that we should kill the Zhou Chamber of Commerce and take them away? You'd better shut up. We aren't as despicable as you to send the Spirit Beast mercenary group to assassinate them. In the end, it was fortunate that Commander Wang was here. Otherwise, you bunch of scoundrels would have succeeded. All of you. Supervisor Du and Elder Zhao's bodies trembled as they argued with the people in charge of the Chamber of Commerce. Hee. Wang Xian, who was standing at the side, listened to their words coldly. Take out all the spirit stones and resources in your hands. I will bring all of you back to Donghai City. He spoke to all the chambers of commerce and the mercenary group indifferently. As soon as Wang Xian finished his words, everyone stopped shouting and looked at him one by one. Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and Shao Chamber of Commerce, leave behind all the valuable items and leave on your own. Wang Xian added indifferently. All right, I'll pay. My life is more important. We can earn more if we run out of spirit stones. A middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said in a low voice, Captain Wang, as long as you can bring us to Donghai City, we'll give you all our money. I'll give it to you too. The people in charge of the Chamber of Commerce agreed with an embarrassed expression. They had been forced into a desperate situation. Their lives were more important than money. Come here. A few people from the mercenary group looked at each other. They instantly walked to Supervisor Du and Elder Zhao's side and directly grabbed them. Come, find all the valuable things on their bodies and send them to Commander Wang. You! What are you doing? I'm warning you. Our Ivy and Shao Chambers of Commerce will not let you off. Shut up. A few mercenary groups tore their clothes and took their interspatial rings and all the valuable items. Commander Wang, all the goods of the caravan are yours. Please take us back to East Sea City. A few people in charge of the mercenary group and the Chamber of Commerce walked over and said with an awkward expression. Hee, all right. Wang Xian smiled expressionlessly and looked at Father Zhou. I'll have to trouble President Zhou to come to Donghai City and help me sell all the goods. Also, if you guys want to seek revenge, you can look for me at the Demon Hunters Academy. My name is Wang Xian. Wang Xian stood up and said to everyone with an unpleasant expression. No. Everyone said hurriedly. They really didn't dare to. After learning that the 13 people were the higher-ups of the Demon Hunters Academy, They knew that this young man in front of them was definitely not someone they could provoke. To dare to be enemies with the Demon Hunters Academy was simply courting death. Wang Xian didn't bother with them. He was about to enter Donghai City anyway. The Dragon Assassin organization was also about to enter Donghai City. It wouldn't be long before the Dragon Assassin organization stirred up another storm of blood. Chapter 964, Donghai City. Get lost. Get out of our sight immediately and don't appear in our sight. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. Wang Xian and the people from the Zhou Chamber of Commerce were walking at the front, while everyone from the caravan followed behind. A few people from the mercenary group spoke to Supervisor Du and Elder Xiao, who had ashen faces. The people from the Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and the Xiao Chamber of Commerce had despair written all over their faces. All their resources had been taken away, and now they were chased out of the caravan. How were they supposed to go back? This was no different from sending themselves to their deaths. Get lost! A member of the mercenary group pushed Elder Xiao hard and pushed him to the ground. Their mercenary group had suffered heavy losses on this trip. However, all of the reasons were because of the Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and the Xiao Chamber of Commerce. If it weren't for them, this mission would have been smooth. There wouldn't have been so many deaths, and they wouldn't have to be on tenterhooks every day. They would have been able to smoothly obtain a decent reward. Then, they would have to take out a sum of spirit stones when they arrived at the Eastern Sea with the Immortal Phoenix Mercenary Group. Therefore, when they learned of what the Green Vine Chamber of Commerce and the Xiao Chamber of Commerce had done, everyone's faces were filled with anger. You will die a horrible death! Elder Xiao fell on the rock, his eyes bloodshot as he growled. However, what responded to them was a cold gaze. Seeing the caravan quickly disappear from their sight, Supervisor Du and Elder Xiao sat on the rock with despair on their faces, their eyes lifeless. Without protection, with their extraordinary second or third rank strength, their chances of survival were less than 10%. Commander Wang, all the goods in the caravan are worth about 13 million middle-grade spirit stones. This is their receipt. Take a look. When we arrive at Donghai City, I will sell all the goods to you, Commander Wang. Father Zhou counted all the goods and came to Wang Xian with a smile. He said respectfully, Okay. Wang Xian nodded his head and smiled. Although the commission for this mission was only 50,000 spirit stones, the reward was not low. Excluding the one-time extraordinary 8th level formation, the reward was 17 to 8 million middle-grade spirit stones. It was not bad. The caravan traveled at a fast speed. With Ao Yao and the rest on guard, as long as they did not encounter any powerful demonic beasts of the insightful void tier, there was not much danger. After 2 days of turbulence, Wang Xian and the rest finally arrived in front of a huge city. The city wall was 100 meters tall, and the huge black city gate was 70 to 80 meters tall. Rows of elite soldiers stood neatly on the city wall. The huge city was incomparably majestic and exuded an ancient aura. Compared to it, the Holy See town was on a completely different level. East Sea City had a population of over 10 million, and it was close to the ocean. The entire city had existed for over 3,000 years. East Sea City was one of Star Moon Kingdom's 10 great cities. Star Moon Kingdom had 10 great cities and 80 towns. East Sea City was one of them. It had the army of ocean cultivators of the East Sea, which guarded a region. The city lord and the commander of the army of ocean cultivators were both terrifying experts at the profound void realm. In Eastern Sea City, there were 3 major academies: Eastern Sea Academy, Ocean Academy, and Demon Hunter Academy. Compared to the first 2 academies, Demon Hunter Academy could be considered a civilian academy. This was because as long as one had the strength and ability, they wouldn't allow their sons and daughters to join the Demon Hunter Academy. The greatest future for the students of the Demon Hunter Academy was to stay in the Demon Hunter Academy and become instructors. The rest would usually join a mercenary group. If it was better, they would form a mercenary group. However, the members of the mercenary group lived on the edge of a knife and could die in the wild at any time. As the saying went, If you often walk by the river, you will get your shoes wet. If you often do missions in the wild, who can guarantee that you will not encounter difficulties? Therefore, no parents were willing to let their children go to the Demon Hunter College. Moreover, the students of the Demon Hunters Academy had to go out on missions during their time in the academy. Every assessment required them to go out into the wild to complete the corresponding missions. The probability of death in the academy was very high. It could be seen from the assessment. This was also the origin of the name of the academy for commoners. To enter Donghai City, everyone had to pay a middle-grade spirit stone. This was a hard and fast rule. Wang Xian and the rest entered the city from the entrance that was at least 200 meters wide. They passed through the tunnel that was 20 to 30 meters thick. A huge and prosperous city appeared in Wang Xian's line of sight. The wide street was about 30 to 40 meters wide. The street was divided into human-shaped and horse-drawn carriages. Move, move, move! At this moment, a roar came from behind. Wang Xian turned around and saw more than a dozen members of the mercenary group riding on giant rhinoceroses. They were walking on the road of the carriage. The 3-meter rhinoceroses were emitting a powerful aura. These rhinoceroses had at least the strength of an extraordinary level 3. This made Wang Xian's eyes sparkle. It's up to Brother Bei Bing to hunt the red-tailed fish this time. Don't worry, leave it to me. As long as you do as I say, I guarantee that we will return with a full load. More than 20 people walked out of the city excitedly. Wang Xian's eyes were filled with astonishment. The one who was called the Bei Bing brothers was not a human. Instead, it was a demonic beast that carried a shell on its back and had 2 antennae. That's right, it was a demonic beast. It cooperated with humans to hunt and kill the ferocious beasts. Along the way, Wang Xian also learned a little about Donghai Town from Jin Luyan and Zhou Han. This was a huge city. There were not only fierce beasts but also demonic beasts living in it. Demonic beasts possessed intelligence. Not all demonic beasts were enemies with humans. Many demonic beasts joined forces with humans. After demonic beasts registered in a human city, they enjoyed the same treatment as humans. They also had to abide by the rules of humans. And because demonic beasts had their own talents and were generally stronger than humans, many mercenary groups also hoped to recruit a demonic beast member. This resulted in a situation where the demonic beasts and humans coexisted. In fact, there was even a small demonic beast race living in Donghai City. The humans provided them with safe accommodation and resources while they guarded Donghai City for the humans to solve some special problems. Commander Wang, I'll sell all the resources first. I'll let Han Han and Miss Jean bring you around Donghai City. Father Zhou said to Wang Xian with a smile. As for everyone in the caravan, they left as soon as they entered the city. It's all right. I'll look around by myself. Wang Xian shook his head. It's all right, Commander Wang. We don't have much to do. Donghai City is very big. Do you know where the Demon Hunter Academy is? Where is the Demon Hunter recruitment? Let us accompany you to get to know each other. Thank you for bringing us here safely, Jin Lian said to Wang Xian with a smile on her face. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment and nodded. All right then, thank you. You're welcome. We still want to get to know a powerhouse with unlimited potential like you so that we can protect our little girl in the future. Jin Liuyan's face was full of smiles. Chapter 965, Enrolled. Eastern Sea City was very big. It took 7 to 8 hours to travel around the entire Eastern Sea City by horse carriage. It would take at least a few days to walk around the entire Eastern Sea City. Eastern Sea City was divided into 5 regions, and each region was larger than Holy Sea Town. Compared to Eastern Sea Academy and Ocean Academy, which were located in the most prosperous central region, Demon Hunter Academy belonged to the Eastern region, which was the closest region to the ocean. As it was the closest region to the open ocean, the Eastern region was the region where most of the mercenary groups gathered. The Demon Hunter College nurtured members of the elite mercenary groups, so naturally it was also built in this region. Jin Luyan and the rest naturally couldn't bring Wang Xian around the entire Eastern Sea City. They only brought him to the Eastern region. The Demon Hunter Association, the Demon Hunter College, and the most prosperous street in the Eastern region, the Demon Hunter Street. In the Demon Hunter Street, all kinds of shops were more than 10 times richer than in the Holy See town. There were beast-taming shops, demon beast specialty shops, communication shops, dueling ring, life and death ring, and so on. This was an eye-opener for Wang Xian, who had entered the city for the first time. There were 4 Demon Hunters Association in the Eastern District. The Eastern District was the largest one. One of the Demon Hunters Association was like a square. When one entered the Demon Hunters Association, it was not crowded even with tens of thousands of people. Let's go. We know a relatively famous restaurant. Please try the delicacies in Donghai City. As Jin Luyan spoke, she brought Wang Xian to a small street. They strolled around with Jin Luyan and Zhou Hanan for about 4 hours. The two of them brought him to various places, which really saved him a lot of time. If he were to familiarize himself with them, he would need at least 1 to 2 days. Wang Xian strolled until evening before he parted ways with the 2 girls. After rejecting their invitation for the next day, he smiled and went straight to a restaurant. This Jin Luyan seems to have a good impression of me. It seems like it's because I'm too outstanding. Wang Xian smiled narcissistically. Through their conversation, Wang Xian learned that Jin Luyan was quite famous in the East Ocean Academy. Her stunning beauty and outstanding talent made her an existence on the level of the goddess of the East Ocean Academy. However, Wang Xian didn't have much feelings towards Jin Luyan. When he came to the room in the restaurant, Wang Xian took out an exquisite communication stone plate. Unlike the stone plate in Shihai Town, this stone plate was more complicated and its function was much more powerful than the communication stone plate bought in Shihai Town. This communication stone plate is no different from the communication equipment on Earth. It's really magical. Wang Xian opened the communication stone plate and looked at the various information on it. He clicked his tongue slightly. The ranking of the experts of Donghai City, the ranking of the young prodigies of Donghai City, the ranking of the hiring groups of Donghai City, and the ranking of the missions of Donghai City. The various information was not much different from the computers on Earth. However, the Transcendence continent was able to achieve such a feat entirely by relying on formations. There were 4 Transcendence Level 9 formations, 10 Transcendence Level 8 formations, and more than 10 auxiliary formations protecting Donghai City. Only through the city protection formation could such a communication stone plate be produced. It was similar to the local area network on Earth. Wang Xian opened the window of the restaurant and looked at the city tower, which was about 400 to 500 meters tall. Ao Yao, is there any information from the Dragon Men? Wang Xian looked at the magnificent city and asked. Dragon King, Long Yi and the rest have already arrived at the Tianqing town, Shafeng town, and the Ice town. They will be able to spread the information about the Dragon Assassin organization very soon. Ao Yao's voice sounded in the room. Yes, we will occupy the towns that are affiliated to Donghai City first. Then, we will occupy this huge city. Wang Xian stood in his room and looked up at this huge city. It wouldn't be long before he could look down on Donghai City. The Dragon Assassin organization was now famous in both Shanghai Town and Xiaolin Town. The Dragon Assassin organization could be considered to be somewhat famous in the other 3 towns. When the light and darkness of the Dragon Assassin organization covered the Tianqing town and Shafeng town as well as the Ice town, it would be time for them to become famous in Donghai City. As long as the light and darkness of the Dragon Spike could cover Donghai City, it wouldn't be long before it could cover the entire Star Moon Kingdom. In the next 2 days, depending on the level of the mission, you can send someone or go to the other 3 towns to complete the mission personally. Wang Xian said to Ao Yao. It's the Dragon King. Ao Yao nodded. The morning of the day after tomorrow is the start of the Demon Hunters Academy. From now on, we have to find a territory for the Dragon Palace as soon as possible. The most important thing for Wang Xian to do when he came to Donghai City was to find a territory for the Dragon Palace. He wanted to completely transfer the Dragon Palace to the supernatural continent, so that the strength of the Dragon Palace could develop faster. The next morning, Wang Xian took a stroll around the eastern district. Compared to usual days, the number of students in the three major colleges of Donghai City was much higher than usual. There were about 20,000 to 30,000 students in total in the three academies. There were about 10,000 students in the Demon Hunters Academy. And there were about 1,000 new students this time. Going to school? Is this to make up for the regret of not finishing university on Earth? On the third day, Wang Xian walked out of the restaurant with a smile on his face. He was dressed in a handsome black outfit. In the middle of the black outfit was a 5-colored divine dragon. With a slight movement of his palm, he held a fiery red wooden sword in his hand. Wang Xian did not let Ao Jian and Ao Yao follow him. Ao Yao had already led a group of strange demons to Tianqing Town, Shafeng Town, and Ice Town. There, they were waiting for the dragon spikes to take over. Ao Jian was sent by Wang Xian to investigate all the information regarding Donghai City. Dressed in black and holding a red wooden sword, Wang Xian walked towards the Demon Hunters Academy. Walking on the street paved with green bricks, the surrounding demonic beasts, ferocious beasts, and humans were mixed together. It was filled with a strange atmosphere. The restaurant was not far from the Demon Hunters Academy. The entire Demon Hunters Academy occupied 10% of the eastern district. There was a huge square at the entrance of the Demon Hunters Academy. In the middle of the square were more than 30 sculptures that were more than 10 meters tall. Each of the people on the statues was filled with a disdainful aura. They were the founders of the Demon Hunters Mercenary Association, the Demon Hunters Mercenary Association. There were more than 30 people, and each of them had at least the strength of the insightful Void Tier. Not far from the Demon Hunters Academy was the Demon Hunters Mercenary Association. At this moment, there were 2,000 to 3,000 people standing at the entrance of the Demon Hunters Academy. Some of them were new students who had come to report. At a glance, most of the new students were wearing armor and holding weapons in their hands. A faint murderous aura emanated from their bodies. Those who were able to join the Demon Hunters Academy must have participated in battles in the wild. Those who had experienced battles would always have some murderous aura. Among them, there were obviously more males than females. Wang Xian walked straight to the square in front of the Demon Hunters Academy and entered the back of the queue. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly and a confident expression appeared on his face. "Get out of the way!" At this moment, a light voice was heard. Wang Xian turned around and saw a female student riding on a snow-white light tiger. She was walking over slowly. There was a badge pinned on her chest. The Amethyst Mercenary Group was the only all-female mercenary group in the Demon Hunters Academy. Chapter 966. Get out of the way, I want to show off. The woman riding the light tiger arrogantly swept her gaze across the group of new students in front of her. Female students who have joined the Demon Hunter Academy, if you meet the requirements in the future, you can join our Amethyst Mercenary Group. The woman rode the light tiger to the front. The 3-meter-tall light tiger allowed the woman to look down on everyone as she spoke indifferently. After she finished speaking, the woman drove into the academy expressionlessly. Wow, what a handsome senior! She's simply too cool. That light tiger looks so mighty. Is it possible to obtain a light tiger by joining the Amethyst Mercenary Group? The Amethyst Mercenary Group is one of the top 3 mercenary groups in the Demon Hunters Academy. It was established by a senior in the 8th grade. The Amethyst Mercenary Group only accepts female members. I heard that there are many beautiful women in there. There are quite a few Transcendent Level 6 experts. It's a 3-star gold mercenary group. The surrounding freshmen looked enviously at the senior who had entered the academy. Haha, another group of little brats have come. At this moment, another burly voice was heard. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads. 3 youths, each of them incomparably burly, carried a huge hammer on their shoulders, and walked in like dragons and tigers. Not bad, not bad. The 3 of them looked at the group of new students and grinned. We are members of the Berserker Mercenary Group. Berserker, ranked in the top 5 of the Demon Hunter Academy. We, Berserker, only accept powerful warriors. If you are interested, you can get to know us, haha. The three of them quickly walked to the front of the group. The hammers in their hands landed heavily on their arms, making a loud noise. The faces of the freshmen in front of them were filled with shock and admiration. After entering the Demon Hunter Academy, you can join the mercenary group established by Senior Sister. There are many benefits to joining. Some Senior Sister's strength is even stronger than ordinary instructors. If you join, you will be able to receive their guidance. I don't want to join. In the future, I want to build a powerful mercenary group myself. When the freshmen saw another senior in the academy promoting his mercenary group, they all whispered among themselves. Haha, it's our turn! At this moment, another voice came from behind. Everyone turned around and saw 4 or 5 young men with fans in their hands walking forward. They were completely different from the 3 men from the Berserker mercenary group. They were dressed in luxurious brocade clothes and held folding fans in their hands. They looked more like a playboy. It's the Young Masters mercenary group. It's said that those who can join them must first have money, and second must have strength. I heard that the Young Masters mercenary group's strength can be ranked in the top 10 in the Demon Hunters Academy. No one dares to provoke them. Sometimes, having spirit stones is also a reflection of one's strength. To join them, one needs 10 million middle-grade spirit stones. This is 10 million! The 5 young men walked over elegantly, causing the surrounding freshmen to discuss and envy. Hua Fenghua, come to the Young Masters mercenary group after you enter the academy. At this moment, the 5 young men suddenly walked straight to the seat beside Wang Xian. Get out of the way! A voice rang out beside Wang Xian. They were all standing in neat rows. The one who spoke was a young man inside. The young man had long hair with a golden headband on his head. The headband was sparkling. He was holding a blue sword in his hand. When he saw the 5 young men walking over, he was all smiles as he walked straight out. The few people inside quickly made a path for the young man. When Wang Xian saw the young man walking over, he was about to move his body backward. However, the young man seemed to have not seen him as he squeezed his way forward. He turned his body sideways and bumped right into Wang Xian's side. He looked as though he was saying, "Get out of the way, I want to act cool." That's right, the young man wanted to act cool. In front of all the new students, the top 10 mercenary group of the Demon Hunters Academy had come to invite him personally. Naturally, he had to walk over. This kind of opportunity to catch the attention of all the new students was very rare. When Wang Xian saw the golden hoop young man colliding with his body directly, he immediately stopped his retreating posture. His body didn't move at all. Huh! The face of the young man who squeezed over changed slightly. He couldn't help but take a step back. His arrogant face, which had his head slightly raised, instantly became embarrassed. Don't you have eyes? The young man with the golden hoop stared at Wang Xian coldly and said expressionlessly, Don't you know how to be polite? Why? Did I stop you from acting cool? Wang Xian looked at the expression of the young man and smiled. He really didn't have a good impression of this kind of guy. Get out of my way! When the young man with the golden hoop heard Wang Xian's words, his face immediately darkened and he growled coldly. Be nice! Wang Xian stood there indifferently and didn't move. Kid, are you courting death? When the young man in golden hoop saw that everyone was looking at him, his expression changed as he stared at Wang Xian. Damn it! This time, a few seniors from the Young Masters mercenary group came to look for him in front of all the new students so that he could gain some face and show off. Now that he was blocked by a kid on his way to show off, he was naturally extremely furious. Huh! Fenghua, don't be rash! The 5 young men in brocade saw the sudden conflict between Hua Fenghua and Wang Xian. They narrowed their eyes slightly and waved at him. They looked at Wang Xian with a teasing look on their faces. Kid, get out of my way! It was the same sentence as Hua Fenghua, but they were talking about the 5 of them now. The young man in embroidered clothes standing in the middle was even more outstanding. He gestured to the side. They were all smiling as they stared at Wang Xian indifferently. The surrounding freshmen were slightly stunned when they saw this scene. Their faces were filled with astonishment. "What's wrong with that kid? Is he courting death? FUCK, he offended the young master's mercenary group? No way, who doesn't know that offending the young master's mercenary group in the Demon Hunter Academy is simply courting death? It's already cold. If we apologize now, it's still not too late." When the surrounding freshmen saw this scene, their eyes widened. The reason why the young master's mercenary group was able to rank in the top 10 of the Demon Hunter Academy was not because of their strength, but because of their financial resources. Although this world was a world of martial strength, money was still awesome. If you had money, you could hire strong people, and if you had money, you could hire assassins. The young master's mercenary group was definitely an existence that no one dared to provoke in the Demon Hunters Academy. Even the top 3 mercenary groups did not dare to provoke them. This was completely a wealthy organization. When the 5 of them heard the discussions around them, a faint smile appeared on their faces. Even the freshmen who had yet to enroll in the academy had heard of their reputations. This made them even more arrogant. Hua Fenghua, who was at the side, snorted coldly. She crossed her arms and looked at Wang Xian coldly. Wang Xian looked at them and smiled disdainfully. "Move aside? Are you going to give way to trash like you?" Boom! When Wang Xian finished his sentence, everyone around him was stunned for a moment before they burst into an uproar. Chapter 967. Don't be pretentious if you don't have the strength. Move aside. Move aside for you bunch of trash? He actually said such words to the 5 people from the young master's mercenary group. Not to mention that the 5 of them were the famous young master's mercenary group in the Demon Hunters mercenary group. Even if they weren't, they were still senior students of the Demon Hunters Academy. You, a freshman, dared to say such words to a senior student. You are clearly courting death. Wang Xian's words stunned all the freshmen around him. All of them stared at him in astonishment. However, his words caused the faces of the 5 young men from the young master's mercenary group to darken instantly. Their faces were almost bleeding. Calling them trash? Furthermore, it was a freshman in front of all the freshmen. This was simply too embarrassing. If some people in the Demon Hunters Academy knew about this, wouldn't they mock them to death? To be called trash by a freshman who had yet to enter the academy. The young man with golden hoop was also looking at Wang Xian in astonishment. A mocking expression slowly appeared on his face. Hee, very good. No one in the Demon Hunters Academy dares to speak to us like this, especially the freshmen. You are the first one. A hint of viciousness flashed across the eyes of the young man in the middle of the 5 of them. He held the fan in his right hand and said, "Let me help you get out of the way." The fan in his right hand flashed with a green light as it smacked towards Wang Xian's body. Trash! Wang Xian saw their arrogant looks and a hint of mockery appeared in his eyes. He moved his arm. In Wang Xian's opinion, a young man who was at Transcendent Level 3 could be easily crushed to death. He moved his right hand and did not release any attributes. He merely relied on his powerful strength to land heavily on the fan. Boom! Crash! A terrifying force landed. The powerful force caused the fan in the young man's hand to collapse. Bang! The powerful force landed on the young man's body, causing his expression to change drastically. He flew backward and landed heavily on the ground. What? Everyone's expression changed slightly as they looked at the young man who was lying on the ground in disbelief. This was a senior. However, a member of the young master's mercenary group was actually knocked down by a freshman. With such strength, you still want to show off? What a joke! Wang Xian looked at the young man who was lying on the ground in disdain. You! In an instant, the expressions of the 5 of them changed drastically. It was true that they were not strong. They were at level 3 extraordinary, but they were not too weak either. However, they did not expect to be knocked down by a young man. This was a huge humiliation. They were mocked by a freshman, and now they were defeated. This made them lose all their face in front of the freshmen. That student's strength is so strong! This student's strength should be considered top-notch here, but the strength of the 5 of them seems to be a little weak. This young master's mercenary group is at least one of the top 10 mercenary groups in our academy. How could their strength be? When the surrounding freshmen saw this scene, their eyes widened and their faces were filled with shock as they discussed. Hearing the discussions of the surrounding freshmen, the expressions of the 5 members of the young master's mercenary group became even more unsightly. Their strength was already considered relatively weak within the mercenary group. However, being defeated by a freshman was still extremely humiliating. A freshman actually defeated Liang Chuan of the young master's mercenary group. His strength isn't bad, but that freshman is in big trouble. It's not just trouble. I reckon he will drop out of school soon, or else he will be played to death. His actions this time have embarrassed the entire young master's mercenary group. That kid's strength is not bad, but he is showing off a little. Provoking young master's mercenary group is simply courting death. In a corner of the square in front of the Demon Hunters Academy, 40 to 50 people stood there. They were members of some mercenary groups in the Demon Hunter College. According to their rules, they had to show their faces to the new students one by one. It wasn't their turn yet. When they saw that Wang Xian had defeated Liang Chuan from the young master's mercenary group, they shook their heads in surprise. To be able to defeat Liang Chuan, they were definitely ranked among the new students. However, it was a pity that what he had done just now had completely offended the young master's mercenary group. The young master's mercenary group would definitely seek revenge and establish its prestige among the freshmen. Kid, just you wait. If there is a place for you in the demon hunting mercenary group in the future, our young master's mercenary group will have wasted our time. Liang Chuan got up with an embarrassed expression. He stared at Wang Xian with a dark gaze and said fiercely, "Young master's mercenary group? Hee, trash, you guys better not embarrass yourselves here." The corners of Wang Xian's mouth curled up slightly. He glanced at them with disdain and ignored them. Good, very good. Let's just wait and see then. Liang Chuan's face revealed a hint of malevolence. He flung the fan in his hand angrily and walked straight ahead. Shoo! Some students who were not too clear about the young master's mercenary group in the surroundings hissed, causing the 5 of them to look even more embarrassed. Hee! Wang Xian smiled faintly and looked at Hua Fenghua, who was beside him. Hua Fenghua stood to the left of Wang Xian. Her expression kept changing as she said, "Just you wait." After saying that, she immediately returned to her original position with a dejected expression. Wang Xian ignored her and stood there waiting. "Brother, you have to be more careful in the future. If you offend the young master's mercenary group, you will be in big trouble in the future." At this moment, a young man in front took a step back and turned around to remind Wang Xian in a low voice. "Yes, thank you for your reminder." Wang Xian nodded his head and didn't pay too much attention to it. Sigh. The young man in front shook his head when he saw Wang Xian's appearance, and didn't say anything else. He was from Donghai City and had a better understanding of the young master's mercenary group. The young man behind him was going to be done for. Boom! Boom! One by one, the students from the Demon Hunters Academy's mercenary group walked over to introduce themselves. Half an hour later, the gate of the Demon Hunters Academy opened with a loud bang. 20 middle-aged men walked over in unison. They were wearing uniform black armor with the word, "Hunting," written on their chests. A group of 20 people walked over like an army. The hearts of the new students were slightly shaken. They stood up in a hurry and the sounds of their conversation quickly disappeared. Eh? Wang Xian swept his gaze over and discovered 2 familiar figures. One was a middle-aged man whom he had grabbed with his palm, and the other was a white-haired old man. Wang Xian remembered that this white-bearded old man was the dean of the order department. He had the strength of a transcendent level 7. Vice Dean Xiao was not among them. "I am one of the 4 vice presidents of the Demon Hunter Academy, Vice Dean Zhao. Now, all new students, take out your admission notices and enter the academy. The academy will randomly assign you 10 learning grounds. Each learning ground will have 2 teachers to teach you. Before you enter the academy, worship the heroes of the Demon Hunter mercenary group. The old man wearing a black hat in the middle looked straight ahead and said indifferently. Chapter 968 Took his revenge. More than 30 heroes of the Demon Hunters mercenary group were in the worship square. Then Vice Principal Zhao led them directly into the academy. After entering the academy, there were huge trees on both sides of the road. The trees were shaded, and each one was 100 meters tall. These trees were all planted when the Demon Hunters Academy of East Ocean City was founded, and they had a history of more than 2 years. The ground of the Demon Hunter College was black, and the black soil was extremely hard. Upon entering the Demon Hunter College, Wang Xian could clearly feel that the spiritual energy in the Demon Hunter College was 2 to 3 times higher than the spiritual energy outside. After walking for 300 to 400 meters on the tree-lined road, statues appeared in front of him again. He bowed once again. Behind the statues were buildings. The black buildings were as thick and heavy as the ground. Demon Hunter Academy Library. Demon Hunter Academy Treasury. Demon Hunter Academy Mission Office. In front of them, 3 huge buildings were exceptionally eye-catching. These 3 buildings were 30 meters tall. In Eastern Sea City, they weren't very tall, but in Demon Hunter Academy, they were considered relatively tall buildings. Only the city towers that were 400 to 500 meters tall in Demon Hunter College were taller than them. In front of them were many huge buildings. The names of the classes were written on the front of each building. There were 10,000 students in Demon Hunter College, and they were divided into 10 grades. In other words, they could stay in Demon Hunter College for 10 years. There was a learning field for every 100 students, and 2 instructors would teach them. 1 instructor to teach the knowledge category, and 1 instructor to teach the combat category. Both were very important to the students. The Demon Hunter Academy didn't have the teaching of arrays, alchemy, and refining, so the actual combat category was more. Sometimes, the instructor would take all the students in the class out to do missions. Hiss, that's the attribute tower in front, it's so magnificent. This is the foundation of the entire Demon Hunter College. The speed of cultivating and comprehending divine abilities in the attribute tower is more than 10 times faster than in the outside world. I heard that entering the attribute tower requires a lot of points. I only have a pitiful 30 points in my hands. I only have 20. After walking for more than half an hour, at the back of the college, there were 7 towers emitting various kinds of energy. There were wind attribute training towers with green wind whistling, and fiery red training towers with flames rising. There were water attribute training towers with flowing water, and golden and dazzling metal attribute training towers. There were a total of 7 of them, but there were no light and dark attributes. Attribute towers, training towers. They can speed up the comprehension of supernatural powers and increase the speed of cultivation. Wang Xian looked at the attribute towers and revealed a look of surprise. This was the holy land of cultivation in the supernatural continent. It can increase by more than 10 times. It's similar to the current Dragon Palace. It's even worse than the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Field of the Dragon Palace also had the ability to speed up the improvement of supernatural powers. Overall, it might not be as good as the Dragon Palace. On each admission notice, there is a serial number from 0 to 9. Everyone take a look. Students whose serial number is 0, come to me. Students from 1, come to me. One instructor after another walked out and shouted at all the students. The group of new students walked to the corresponding instructor. Wang Xian was number 3. He walked directly to instructor number 3. This was a female instructor, a middle-aged female instructor. When he saw Wang Xian walking out, one of the 20 teachers who stood in a row smiled at Wang Xian and waved at him with a smile on his face. The middle-aged female teacher who was in charge of student number 3 looked at Wang Xian in astonishment. Some of the surrounding freshmen were also looking at Wang Xian, who was walking towards a teacher, in astonishment. Their minds were filled with thoughts. Student Wang, from now on, I will be in charge of the actual combat teaching of your class. If you have any needs in the future, just let me know. Oh, right, if you want to enter the attribute tower to cultivate, I will give you a pass later. You can enter directly, the middle-aged man said with a smile when he saw Wang Xian coming over. There was a hint of awkwardness in his smile. After they learned that Wang Xian was a new student of the Demon Hunter College, Vice President Xia decided to let the teachers present at the scene to be in charge of Wang Xian's class. Upon hearing this news, all the teachers smiled bitterly. What the fuck? To be the teacher of this student? Are they qualified? Such a student can cripple you with one hand. How are you going to teach him? Everyone was unwilling. They had no choice but to draw lots to decide. In the end, Wang Xian, who was tragically held in one hand, was drawn. At that moment, his emotions were unusually complicated. He was the only one present who had been beaten up by that evil young man. However, when he saw the gloating expressions of the other teachers, he could only grit his teeth and agree. Now that he was facing such a student, he could only smile instead of being polite. Thank you, Teacher Ma. Wang Xian nodded with a smile. Also, this is for you. It's the key to a house next to the academy. This is the reward given by the academy. Follow me to meet Dean Xia and the rest later. The middle-aged man took out a key and said to Wang Xian again. Okay, thank you, Teacher Ma. Wang Xian took the key and nodded. Let's go, Teacher Yuan. Bring the students to Grade 1, Class 3 first. Teacher Ma nodded and spoke to the middle-aged female teacher. Then, he gestured to the higher-ups of the academy who were not far away. Wang Xian followed behind him and walked in the direction of the attribute tower. They arrived at the back of the attribute tower. There was a residence there. Each house had its own courtyard. The scenery inside was exceptionally beautiful. Moreover, as they were relatively close to the attribute tower, the spiritual energy here was more abundant than other places. Vice Principal Xia and a few elders were sitting there. When they saw Wang Xian, their eyes lit up. Wang Xian walked over and started chatting with him with a smile. After agreeing to a few conditions of the vice principal and the rest, Wang Xian left after chatting for a few minutes. This young man is not simple. His temperament and calm expression are definitely not from an ordinary family. It is very likely that he is an elite disciple of one of those big families or even some sects. Seeing Wang Xian leave, an old man who was sitting in the courtyard said with a twinkle in his eyes. This is inevitable. For such a young man to possess such powerful strength, it is very likely that he is a disciple from a bloodline family who came out to gain experience. Vice Principal Xia, who was standing at the side, slowly shook the tea in his hand. However, no matter what, we will only ask him to help our academy during the competition of the 3 academies. Ha! That's right. We will not offend a youth with such a mysterious identity. We will just give him some benefits and not get too involved. The 2 elders beside him smiled and nodded. The academy did not belong to any organization. After students graduated, they would no longer have much to do with the academy. A talented and monstrous student would attract the academy's attention and give them some benefits. However, that was all. Chapter 969 Took his revenge. Wang Xian came out from the higher-ups of the Demon Hunters Academy with a faint smile on his face. Dean Xia and the rest didn't tell him too much. They only hoped that he would be able to help when the academy's honor was at stake in the future. Naturally, Wang Xian agreed readily. No matter what, the Demon Hunters Academy gave a genius like him a lot of convenience. For example, he had the freedom to attend classes. He could go whenever he wanted. He could cultivate freely in the attribute tower. There was also a house outside the school. It gave him a lot of freedom. Wang Xian was very satisfied with this. He didn't interfere with his freedom, and gave him a lot of convenience. Let's go back to the learning field first. The instructions from Wang Xian Academy were directed to the learning field in the future. The learning field was divided into 2 categories, knowledge and combat. The knowledge category was the understanding of various ferocious beasts and demonic beasts. Understanding their weaknesses, habits, attacking methods, and so on were very important to every member of the mercenary group. Grade 1, Class 3. Wang Xian looked at the sign in front of a huge building and walked in. When he arrived at the door, he realized that there were no teachers inside. More than 90 students were sitting inside. Each of them was holding a communication stone tray in their hands as they chatted excitedly. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the entire learning field. It was about 2,000 to 3,000 square meters, and there were several arenas inside. At the front of the learning field were chairs with a group of freshmen sitting on them. Wang Xian took a glance and walked straight inside. Pa! The noisy room suddenly quieted down. All the students looked at Wang Xian in unison. Wang Xian's expression didn't change. He went to the last seat and sat down. This is the communication stone plate issued by the school. It belongs to our Demon Hunters Academy. Teacher Yuan asked me to pass it to you. At this moment, a female student who was sitting in the middle walked over and handed him a communication stone plate. Thank you. Wang Xian nodded and took the stone plate. He revealed a curious expression on his face. All right, everyone is here. The instructor asked us to choose the temporary leader of the class. Now, who is willing to compete for this position? After the girl handed the stone plate to Wang Xian, she said to everyone, Let me do it! A young man stood up with a proud expression on his face. Duan Qingwen has the strength of an extraordinary stage 3. It is sufficient for him to be the leader of class 3. Ha! The rest of the students frowned slightly when they saw Duan Qingwen standing up and speaking proudly. Duan Qingwen was a rather high-profile person. Many people in the class did not have a good first impression of him. However, his strength was very strong. Students, do you have any objections? The corner of Duan Qingwen's mouth curled up slightly as he scanned his surroundings. Some of the students hesitated for a moment before looking at Wang Xian's position. Among the freshmen this year, Wang Xian was known by everyone. He defeated a senior of the Young Masters mercenary group without giving any face to the Young Masters mercenary group. Moreover, they had just received a piece of news on the communication stone plate. In the class, he was the only one who could match up to Duan Qingwen. I'm not interested. Wang Xian raised his head and took a glance. Then, he lowered his head and opened the communication stone plate. So cold and arrogant. So cool. The surrounding students whispered when they saw Wang Xian's cold expression. It's good that you're not interested. This student, you should think about how to get through this difficult situation first. Duan Qingwen looked at Wang Xian and grinned. Then, he said in a slightly mocking tone, Huh! Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and looked at Duan Qingwen. Fellow student, take a look at the school forum on the communication stone tablet. You are in trouble. At this moment, a young man beside him whispered to Wang Xian. Oh? Wang Xian looked at the communication stone tablet and opened the forum. It was similar to the forum on the computer on Earth. The 5 members of the Young Masters mercenary group were publicly humiliated by a newbie. One of them wanted to make a move but was defeated immediately. It's such a disgrace. Awesome newbie. Today, the Young Masters mercenary group is really a disgrace. Haha, this is really interesting. They can't even defeat a newbie. The members of the Young Masters mercenary group are really useless. The thread was all about the fight between Wang Xian and the Young Masters mercenary group not long ago. There was another thread in the middle of the thread. A kid who thinks he has some ability dares to provoke our Young Masters mercenary group. In the future, beat that kid up in school and collect 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones directly from the Young Masters mercenary group. In the future, there will be no place for that kid in the Demon Hunters Academy. 2 lines of words. The person who posted the thread was a member of the Young Masters mercenary group. Upon seeing this thread, Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. A hint of coldness could be seen on his face. Haha, this kid is going to be in trouble. Beating him up for 10,000 medium-grade spirit stones is equivalent to killing 2 extraordinary 4th-grade ferocious beasts. A freshman dares to provoke the Young Masters mercenary group. I think it's better for him to apologize now. Otherwise, he will be beaten up every day in the future. Nouveau riche, the people in the young master's mercenary group are really nouveau riche. Speaking of a freshman, we senior students can only make a move after getting the kid's consent. Otherwise, it'll violate the school rules. The freshman can make a move, but this kid's strength isn't weak among the freshmen. He can be ranked in the top few. The entire post had several thousand replies. Most of them were gloating. Many students were gloating over the fact that the young master's mercenary group was humiliated by a new student. However, when they saw the young master's mercenary group taking out spirit stones to deal with Wang Xian, many of them rubbed their hands together. Beating up 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones was not a small amount. Many of them were rubbing their hands. Wang Xian looked at the information on the communication stone plate, and a cold expression appeared on his face. He then looked at the other information on the communication stone plate. There was a ranking of the Demon Hunter College's mercenary group. A ranking of the Demon Hunter College's strength. A ranking of the Demon Hunter College's points. There were 3 rankings, followed by the Demon Hunter College's mission. The young master's mercenary group was ranked 6th in the Demon Hunter College. The Gold 1-star mercenary group had 48 members. The founder's strength had reached extraordinary level 5. Golden 1-star, transcendent level 5? Wang Xian was a little disdainful as he continued to search for other information. Alright, since no one has any objections, I shall be the leader of Class 3, the leader of Class 3. Let's introduce ourselves first. Duan Qingwen's voice sounded in the learning field. At this moment, another communication stone tablet from Wang Xian vibrated. Eh? All the resources have been sold. 17 million middle-grade spirit stones. Wang Xian looked at the message sent by Father Zhou and smiled. He stood up and walked out. Eh? What are you doing? It's not your turn to introduce yourself yet. Duan Qingwen's face darkened when he saw Wang Xian standing up and asked. I'm going out for a while, Wang Xian said plainly and walked out. Who gave you permission to go out? You. FUCK, you don't follow the rules. Chapter 970, 1 against 1. Looking at Wang Xian walking out of the learning field and ignoring his words, Duan Qingwen looked extremely embarrassed. In the Demon Hunter College, there was a team leader in each class. The team leader was the strongest person in the class and had a lot of authority. Similarly, as a team leader, there were many benefits. For example, it was easy to recruit members when establishing a mercenary group. Seeing that Wang Xianyao didn't even care about him, Duan Qingwen's expression was extremely ugly. Captain, don't bother about that fellow. He's probably preparing to hide. He offended the young master's mercenary group. He won't be able to stay in the Demon Hunter Academy for long. That's right. I bet that he will leave the Demon Hunter Academy within a week at most. This fellow is too arrogant. Now that the young master's mercenary group has already posted the news on the Academy's forum, this fellow is finished. A few young men in the class saw Duan Qingwen's ugly expression and quickly spoke up. HMPH, let's ignore this fellow, Duan Qingwen said coldly with a gloomy face. Wang Xian walked out of the learning field and headed straight out of the academy. He came to the Demon Hunters Academy mainly because he could obtain some missions and news that he couldn't obtain outside the academy. This would be very beneficial to the development of the Celestial Phoenix Mercenary Group. As for learning, there were some things that he could learn, but most of them were useless to him. Therefore, it was impossible for Wang Xian to stay in the academy all the time. Walking out of the academy, Wang Xian looked around. There were students from the Demon Hunters Academy who were holding weapons. Some of them were walking out of the academy, while others came back from the academy. Some of them were riding powerful, ferocious beasts and were wearing armor. They looked extraordinary. There were also more than a dozen people, both male and female. They were all senior students. Wang Xian quickened his pace and walked outside. When he reached the entrance of the academy, he saw Father Zhou waiting by the door. Commander Wang, all your resources have been sold. All the spirit stones are in the interspatial ring. Father Zhou also saw Wang Xian and walked over immediately. He said respectfully, "All right, thank you." Wang Xian nodded his head. "No need, no need. Captain Wang, if you have time, I'll treat you to a meal," Father Zhou said politely. "No need. I still have some matters to attend to. Let's have a meal together sometime." Wang Xian shook his head. All right, all right." Father Zhou nodded his head hurriedly, and waved his hand at Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head with a smile and took out the key given by Teacher Ma. He looked at the address on the key and said, "The distance is very close." "Not bad, not bad." Wang Xian looked at the street in front of him, and walked along the wall of the Demon Hunters Academy towards the right. After walking for about 1,000 meters, Wang Xian entered an alley. There were many houses inside. The houses had their own courtyards and looked very luxurious. Houses that can be built near the Demon Hunters Academy are not cheap. This house is worth at least 10 million middle-grade spirit stones. Wang Xian walked to a green wooden door. Looking at the door number in front of him, he opened the door directly. A courtyard was at least 100 square meters. It was a 3-story small building. He pushed the door open and entered. It was extremely luxurious inside. Wang Xian looked around with a satisfied expression. He took out his communication stone plate and called Ao Jian and the rest over. Looking at the time, it was already noon. Wang Xian walked out directly. Not far away was the main street of the Eastern District. Wang Xian found a random restaurant and sat down. After dinner, Ao Jian and the rest arrived. Wang Xian asked them to find a house to live in next to their house. After settling everything, Wang Xian walked into the Demon Hunters Academy. That's the freshman who didn't give young master any face by hiring a gang. It's really him. He's really bold. He doesn't know how to hide. Where can he hide? TSK, beating him up is equivalent to 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones. If I can beat him up, I will beat him up more than a dozen times. He's at least at Transcendent Level 3. He can be ranked in the top 10 among the freshmen. Just as he passed through the area under the shade of the trees, Wang Xian saw 3 to 4 young men pointing at him. Wang Xian looked over and raised his eyebrows slightly. He ignored them and continued walking inside. The Demon Hunter College was very big. Wang Xian quickened his pace. In the afternoon, the instructor asked us to familiarize ourselves with the Demon Hunter College. Everyone can take a look around. Hey, look, it's him. It's really him. A new student who just entered the academy has already become popular in our academy. TSK, I'm really envious. What's there to be envious about? This kid is going to be unlucky soon. At this moment, 100 students walked out from a learning field beside them. A young man who was standing at the front spoke to the students. At this moment, the students who saw Wang Xian suddenly spoke in surprise. The young man who was standing at the front was slightly taken aback. He looked at Wang Xian and narrowed his eyes slightly. Although it was only a day since the new students entered the academy, more than half of the students of the Demon Hunters Academy knew about Wang Xian's reputation. This was especially so for the mission issued by the Young Master's mercenary group on the Communication Stone Forum. Not only will I get 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones if I defeat this guy, I will also gain a great reputation. The eyes of the young man who was standing at the front flickered. His body suddenly moved and appeared in front of Wang Xian in an instant. Huh! Wang Xian frowned slightly when he saw a young man suddenly blocking in front of him. What is the captain doing? Could it be? Is the captain going to beat him up? Haha, I support the captain. If we beat him up, not only will we get a reward of 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones, we will also be able to make a name for ourselves in the first grade. That's right, Class 8 is the strongest. Captain, teach him a lesson. When the students behind saw their captain making a move, they were excited and shouted loudly. The young man smiled and looked at the students behind him. He raised his hand indifferently and said, "Wait for me to earn 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones. I'll treat everyone to a good meal." Haha, I support our leader. Beat him up. Our leader's strength is definitely one of the best among our peers. He has a Transcendent Tier 3 weapon, a Transcendent Tier 3 armor, and a supporting weapon. Captain, he has also made our Grade 1 Class 3 famous. At the back, a group of students surrounded him excitedly. Hee hee. Upon hearing the student's words, the young man raised his head slightly. The corner of his mouth curled up as he looked at Wang Xian, who was in front of him. Kid, your strength is not bad. Come, let's spar. There's no time. Move aside. Wang Xian looked at the young man's provocation. There was a hint of impatience in his eyes as he said directly, Get out of the way. If you defeat me, then get out of the way. What's the matter? You dare to fight with a senior, and you don't dare to accept my challenge? Are you scared? This is so boring. Why don't you let me beat you up and I'll let you leave? The young man said mockingly with a face full of strong confidence. Scram! A hint of impatience flashed past Wang Xian's eyes as he dashed forward. Hee hee, I want 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones. The young man smiled when he saw Wang Xian making a move. He clenched his fist and dashed forward. Boom! Wang Xian also stretched out his fist to meet the young man's attack. The powerful force collided violently. Chapter 971 Stomped on his face. In the Demon Hunter College, students of the same grade didn't have to enter the arena to spar. However, students of the higher grades had to enter the arena if they wanted to challenge students of the lower grades. This was also to ensure the safety of the students of the lower grades. At the same time, students of the Demon Hunter College couldn't endanger the other party's life when sparring. Wang Xian didn't show any mercy when facing the young man who provoked him. A powerful force landed directly on his arm. Boom! Ah! A miserable scream was heard. The young man's body flew backward and landed heavily on the ground. His arm was completely fractured. How dare a trash like you block my way? Wang Xian stared coldly at the young man who was lying on the ground and walked straight ahead. The young man was lying in front of him. Wang Xian didn't show any intention of moving. He stepped on the young man's face and walked over. A footprint was left on his face. It was clearly visible. This is so strong! Behind him, the students of Grade 1 Class 8 were dumbfounded. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Their captain was the strongest student in their class. There were a total of 2 Level 3 extraordinary individuals in Class 8. However, the other Level 3 extraordinary individual was easily defeated by him. However, this young man was actually able to defeat their captain in one move. Such strength? You! What's your name? The captain of Class 8 who was lying on the ground saw Wang Xian stepping on his face. His expression changed drastically. He was the pride of Qiaolin Town. How could he be stepped on by someone? His expression changed drastically. He turned his head with an embarrassed expression and growled at Wang Xian. Wang Xian! Wang Xian heard the voice coming from behind and said faintly. Stepping on a person's face, one naturally had to leave their name behind. You ambushed me. Just you wait. The young man saw the stunned and shocked gaze of his classmate. His expression changed again as he spoke in a low voice. He provoked the other party first, but he ended up being stepped on and walked over. His dignity as the leader had completely dissipated. He could only say that the other party had launched a sneak attack to reduce the loss of his dignity. Was it really a sneak attack? The situation in his heart. That arrogant young man was really awesome. Leader, so it was that kid who launched a sneak attack. How despicable and shameless. When the students heard his words, they quickly reacted and walked over to help him up. At the same time, they spoke furiously. So the person in the face-smacking young master's mercenary group is Wang Xian. He has some strength. Some of the students from other classes and higher grades saw the scene just now. They mumbled and looked at the back view. It's him. It's really him. He's the young man in the school forum who has a bounty on his head from the young master's mercenary group. This guy is really unlucky. Brother, do you want to beat that kid up? It's 10,000 middle grade spirit stones. 10,000 middle grade spirit stones is nothing. However, if I can beat this kid up, I can at least make a name for myself. Before Wang Xian had walked 2,000 meters, 4 to 5 young men walked over from the opposite side and pointed at him. Their voices and actions were not concealed at all. As they pointed at him, they sized him up from head to toe. When Wang Xian saw their actions and heard their conversation, his eyes were filled with impatience. He had already lost a lot of patience when he was provoked repeatedly the moment he entered the school. Wang Xian ignored the 5 people in front of him and walked straight towards the direction where he learned. Let me test his strength. The 5 of them stared at Wang Xian and lined up in a row. A young man dressed in white walked in the middle with a black long sword in his hand. They did not dodge and went straight for Wang Xian. Interesting. Both parties were 2 meters apart. Seeing that Wang Xian had no intention of dodging, the young man in white curled the corner of his mouth slightly, and raised the long sword in his hand slightly. Bang! When both parties were about to collide, the sword hilt in the young man's hand went straight for Wang Xian. Wang Xian did not dodge at all. His strong body was like a ferocious beast as he charged forward. Bang! Oh no! When Wang Xian's body landed on the young man's body, the young man in white's face changed drastically. When his wrist touched the sword hilt, a large amount of blood instantly flowed out. His body charged straight towards the back. Boom! The powerful force caused him to fall heavily onto the ground. He felt as if his internal organs had shifted. Wang Xian continued walking forward expressionlessly. What? What are you doing? Seeing Wang Xian walking straight over, the face of the young man in white changed drastically. He asked with some fear. The 4 young men beside him were a little stunned. When they saw Wang Xian's expressionless face, they shouted immediately. What are you trying to do? Wang Xian didn't want to do anything. He walked straight forward. Coincidentally, the young man in white fell on the ground in front of him. Wang Xian stepped on him and continued walking forward without being alarmed. You! The young man in white touched his face with his hand. His expression changed drastically. Just you wait! His expression changed again and again. Finally, he spat out 5 words from his teeth. Wang Xian ignored him and walked towards the learning field of Class 3. On the way, all the new students who passed by looked at Wang Xian curiously and discussed in low voices the mission given by the young master's mercenary group. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Xian's strength was not weaker than a level 3 extraordinary, many people might have already come up to spar with Wang Xian. Once he was beaten up, not only would he get 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones, he would also be able to make a name for himself. Wang Xian looked at the gazes of the people around him and frowned slightly. Do you really think you are so easy to deal with? For 10,000 spirit stones, hee, and that young master's mercenary group. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. This young master's mercenary group. Sooner or later, he would have to teach them a lesson. When he arrived at Class 3's classroom, Wang Xian walked straight in. I didn't expect you to really dare to come. Just now, there were quite a few people who came to look for you and wanted to spar with you. Seeing Wang Xian enter, Duan Qingwen raised his head and said gloatingly. Shut your mouth! Wang Xian heard his words and looked over. He said coldly. You! Duan Qingwen stood up abruptly and stared at Wang Xian coldly. Captain, Teacher Yuan is here. Please calm down. A student looked outside and said to him hurriedly. Humph! Duan Qingwen snorted coldly and glared at Wang Xian before sitting down. Wang Xian ignored him and walked to the last seat and sat down. Everyone, please come out. I will bring you around the academy this afternoon. Teacher Yuan stood at the entrance of the class and said to everyone. Yes, teacher. The group of students walked out immediately. Wang Xian followed them out as well. We've wasted another afternoon. When they walked out, it was possible that Teacher Yuan was a woman, so she was more responsible. She brought them around the huge academy and introduced them one by one. Chapter 972 was the best among the new students. There is a huge benefit to joining our Demon Hunter College. In the library of our Demon Hunter College, there is a database. In the database, you can see all the information about the students and instructors of the college doing missions around East Sea City. Some of the landforms and some things to take note of can be seen in the information. You should know that this is the accumulation of our Demon Hunter College over 1,000 years. In addition, you can also record the information in the library. Once the feedback results are correct, you will be rewarded with points. Teacher Yuan brought everyone from Class 3 to the Academy's library and introduced them. Wang Xian looked at the huge library. There were at least a few million books in it. This was the main reason why he came to the Demon Hunter College in the first place. In the Demon Hunter College, one could obtain information that other mercenary groups could not. There were many valuable materials. For the students of the Demon Hunter College, if one wanted to check the information here, they would need to exchange them with points. Following that, Teacher Yuan brought them to the treasure vault of the Demon Hunter College. The treasure vault of the Demon Hunter College contained many treasures. These treasures could be exchanged with a large number of points. Secondly, they could be exchanged with treasures. Wang Xian looked at a portion of the items closely and was extremely surprised. There were even fire spirit pearls of extraordinary level 5. The other types of armor and weapons were in a terrifying amount. According to Teacher Yuan's introduction, the library of the Demon Hunters Academy's treasure vault was extremely valuable in the entire Eastern Sea City. Even the Eastern Sea Academy and the Ocean Academy could not compare to it. Many large mercenary groups in Eastern Sea City used their money to buy information about the Demon Hunters Academy. Moreover, this information was sold at a very high price. There were also some information that wasn't for sale and could only be exchanged by the students of the Demon Hunters Academy. After touring around with Teacher Yuan, Wang Xian felt that joining the Demon Hunters Academy was a wise choice. Tomorrow, your teacher Ma will introduce some things to you and teach you practical combat. When the time comes, there will be a class-to-class competition. Come on time! Around 5 in the afternoon, Teacher Yuan waved to everyone and said his final words. Everyone nodded and left immediately. The students of the Demon Hunters Academy had their own rooms. Each of them had a room. The room was not big, but it was pretty good. Actual combat? Wang Xian nodded his head slightly and walked straight to the back of the academy. That's the guy who provoked the young master's mercenary group yesterday. This guy is doomed. Of course. I asked around today and found out that the young master's mercenary group is very famous in the Demon Hunters Academy. There was once an extraordinary level 5 senior who was punished by the young master's mercenary group and apologized. As he walked towards the attribute training tower, he heard the discussions around him. There were even some people who were considering whether they should go over and spar with him. Wang Xian was also aware of the rules of sparring among the students in the Demon Hunters Academy. When he heard their conversation, he frowned slightly and revealed an unhappy expression. He frowned slightly and ignored them. He went into the attribute training tower, took out a token given to him by Dean Xia, and entered the training room directly. The training room was not big. It was only 3 to 4 square meters in size. There was a seat in the middle. Wang Xian sat cross-legged in the fire attribute training tower, and immediately began to absorb the dense fire attribute around him. The speed of my cultivation is slightly slower than the Dragon Palace's, but it's not bad. When waves of spiritual energy surged into his body, Wang Xian thought to himself. He immediately closed his eyes and focused on his cultivation. The time for cultivation passed very quickly. When he opened his eyes, it was already the afternoon of the second day. When he arrived at Class 3's learning field, he realized that there was no one inside. Wang Xian thought for a moment, and returned to his residence. Dragon King! Upon seeing Wang Xian, Ao Jian immediately walked over. Dragon King, the group of Draconids will be back tomorrow morning. Oh? The dragon spike has been taken care of? Wang Xian raised his eyebrows and walked over with a smile on his face. Yes. According to Long Yi's report, all 3 towns have been dealt with. Aojian replied. Yes. Wang Xian nodded. Dragon King! The next morning, the group of draconids rushed over. Has everything been arranged? Wang Xian asked them directly. Dragon King, everything has been arranged. Lord Ao Yao and the rest are currently on an assassination mission. They should be back in 3 days. Long Yi nodded his head. In addition, the spies in Xiaolin Town, Shanghai Town, and the other 3 towns will send us a message through the mother-child communication stone plate once there is a mission. We can receive it directly in Donghai City and have Lord Ao Yao and the rest carry out the mission in the 5 towns in front of them. With Donghai City as the main base, we will radiate the 5 towns in the vicinity. Wang Xian nodded slightly. The communication stone tablet of his mother and son did not have a distance limit. It was a long-distance communication device. All right. Currently, there are not many strange demons. When there are more in the future, it will be much more convenient. Wang Xian knocked on the table gently. In the next few days, all of you will develop the spies in the East Sea City. Each district will develop 10 spies. It's the Dragon King. The group of draconids nodded respectfully. Wang Xian stood up and said, After Ao Yao and the rest arrive, we will start to complete the missions. We will work hard to raise the level of the mercenary group, earn spirit stones, and increase our strength. Let's go to the Demon Hunters Academy. It has been almost 3 days since the start of the semester, and we haven't even stayed for a day. Wang Xian hesitated for a moment, smiled, and walked into the Demon Hunters Academy. Are you going to the arena to watch the competition of the new students? I heard that the strongest among the new students will be selected today. This is boring. They are all a bunch of rookies. The strongest one is only at level 3 of the supernatural realm. Aren't you at level 3 of the supernatural realm as well? Let's go and take a look. There might be some strong talents in this batch. Wang Xian entered the academy. Before he reached class 3, he heard the conversation between 2 young men beside him. Freshman competition? He was stunned. No wonder there was no one in the learning field yesterday. It turns out that the freshman competition. Wang Xian looked in the direction where the 2 young men went and followed behind them. There was a huge competition venue in the Demon Hunters Academy. Even if all the students were present, it would be able to fit all of them. When Wang Xian arrived at the entrance of the competition venue, he heard cheers coming from inside. He walked in and what he saw was a slightly skinny young man standing on the stage. He raised both of his hands in excitement. Wang Xian walked in and realized that the instructor inside was walking out instead. Is it over? Wang Xian was slightly surprised. Qin Shan's strength is simply too strong. He defeated Gao Meng within 10 moves. He is almost invincible among those at Transcendent Level 3. He is indeed very strong. He didn't even use his supernatural ability. How awesome! Chapter 973, Provoked. Around them, more than 1,000 new students looked at the young man in the ring with admiration. More than 1,000 new students, 2 days of competition. Qin Shan, with an invincible attitude among the new students, had obtained the achievement of first place among all the new students. Even Gao Meng, who was second place, was far from him. Facing the strongest young man of the same level, everyone had envious expressions on their faces. Some of the girls even excitedly shouted Qin Shan's name, wishing they could immediately marry him. There were very few girls in the Demon Hunters Academy, which made the others even more envious. However, compared to envy, they admired Qin Shan's strength even more. I heard that Qin Shan lives in the East Sea City slums, North District. TSK, he's really powerful. Don't you know? Not only is Qin Shan powerful, his sister is also very powerful. Look over there, that's his sister, a captain of the Amethyst Mercenary Group. She has the strength of a Transcendent Tier 4. I'm impressed. No wonder no one dares to provoke Qin Shan in the Demon Hunters Academy in the future. I'm really envious. With such a powerful sister and her own strength, She might be able to become a powerful expert in the future. The surrounding discussions could be heard once again. At this moment, at a spot not far from the arena, 7 to 8 girls were standing there, attracting the attention of many people. In particular, on the chests of these 7 to 8 girls, there was a badge, the badge of the Amethyst Mercenary Group. An eye-catching gold symbol. The Amethyst Mercenary Group. 8 girls, each more beautiful than the other. The girls who were able to enter the Amethyst Mercenary Group were not pretty. Their strength was not bad, and many of them were even class captains. The girl standing in the middle was dressed in black, giving off a special kind of energy. Dressed in black, she also gave off a special kind of temptation. Many boys would glance at her from time to time. Qing, your brother is even more powerful than you. He reached the peak of Transcendence Level 3 at such a young age, and he even received the title of first grade leader. It's a pity that our Amethyst Mercenary Group doesn't recruit boys. Otherwise, we would definitely recruit him. A woman in red beside Qing said to her with a smile on her face. My younger brother has been working hard since he was young. He has suffered more than me. The reason he has the ability is all because of his hard work. Qing said with a smile and a trace of pride on her face. That's because brother Qin Shan has good talent. It's useless to just work hard without talent. Another girl hurriedly added. That's right. Why don't we go to the East Wind Pavilion to celebrate later? A male voice suddenly came from the side. The young man was dressed in luxurious brocade clothes with a fan hanging on his waist and a badge hanging on his chest. Young Master's Mercenary Group. At this moment, he said to Qing in a fawning manner. There's no need. Qing heard the young man's words and frowned slightly. She directly rejected him. It's fine, Qing. It won't cost much. Look at how skinny Qin Shan is. I'll bring him to eat some good food to nourish himself. The young man said again. There's no need. I can give him whatever he wants. He can also obtain it through his own hard work. Qing shook her head and smiled at her younger brother on the arena once again. Wang Xian stood at the entrance and looked at the lively arena. He was the strongest person in the first grade with the strength of a level 3 extraordinary. In his opinion, it was like a bunch of noobs pecking at each other. He wasn't interested in it at all. He wasn't interested in the entire Demon Hunter College's competition, let alone the first grade competition. He could definitely punch a kid one punch at a time. Huh! It's him? That's true. I heard his name is Wang Xian. Why didn't I see him during the competition these 2 days? Just as Wang Xian was about to leave, a student from the class was about to leave when he happened to see him standing at the door. The group of more than 100 people was slightly taken aback. Soon after, they started to discuss among themselves. Captain, do you want to spar with him? If we beat him up, we can still get 10,000 middle-tier spirit stones. A female student said to the young man standing at the center. Let's forget about it this time. I was hit in the chest just now, and I haven't recovered yet. I need to rest for a while. When I recover, I'll definitely spar with him. The young man waved his hand and said with a smile. Haha, the captain is the 3rd strongest person in the first grade. It's easy to teach him a lesson. The girl threw a flirtatious glance and said with a smile. Haha, of course. The young man laughed proudly. Wang Xian looked at them with a hint of coldness in his eyes. In the past 2 days, as long as he came to the academy, many people would come to provoke him. This made him a little annoyed. It's Wang Xian. He hasn't been here for 2 days. I didn't expect this fellow to come now. The hundreds of people suddenly stopped and looked outside. This attracted the attention of the people from Class 3. When they saw Wang Xian, they were astonished. They were very curious about this student who had skipped school for 3 days and caused such a big incident as soon as he entered the academy. Wang Xian, you even know to come to the academy. Are you afraid that the people from the Young Master's mercenary group would come to take revenge on you? Is that why you didn't dare to come over for the past 2 days? Duan Qingwen said to Wang Xian mockingly. Who? The student who provoked the Young Master's mercenary group? It's really him. He offended the young man from the young master's mercenary group as soon as he entered the school. Duan Qingwen's words instantly caused more people to look over. When they saw Wang Xian, they were astonished. That guy? Let me go and take a look. The young man who had been standing beside Qin Qing and the other girls heard the commotion. He raised his eyebrows and spoke to them before walking forward. It's the young man who embarrassed young master's mercenary group. If it's interesting, let's go and take a look too. A girl tugged at Qin Qing and the others' clothes and followed behind them. The group of people walked towards the door. Even Qin Shan, who was standing on the stage, looked towards Wang Xian. In an instant, everyone's attention was on him. Everyone looked curiously at the man of the moment among the new students. Wang Xian looked at everyone who was looking at him. He narrowed his eyes slightly and a hint of coldness flashed across his face. It seemed that there were some matters that needed to be resolved. There were too many lice and they needed to be cleaned up. Hee, little friend, you were the one who didn't give face to our young master's mercenary group that day, right? At this moment, a voice came from behind. The group of new students gathered at the front quickly made way for him. The young man in embroidered clothes from the young master's mercenary group walked in with a smile on his face. He stared at Wang Xian with a hint of mockery in his eyes. Wang Xian looked at the young man who walked over and narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze landed on the badge on his chest and a hint of coldness appeared on his face. So, he's from a useless mercenary group. Chapter 974, Number 1 among the freshmen, useless. Go. So it was someone from the useless mercenary group. When Wang Xian's words rang out, the surrounding discussions quieted down. Everyone stared at Wang Xian with their mouths agape. Even the smile on the face of the young man from the young master's mercenary group froze. If he didn't enter the academy before, he didn't know that the young master's mercenary group could still say that the freshmen were fearless, and that those who didn't know were innocent. But now, he had already entered the academy, and in front of thousands of people, he directly said that the young master's mercenary group was a useless mercenary group. That was a blatant insult. Everyone's gaze turned towards the young master's mercenary group's young man in embroidered clothes. They weren't the little white people of the past. In 3 days, they had a detailed understanding of some of the mercenary groups in the Demon Hunters Academy. To dare to call them trash in front of the members of the young master's mercenary group, the result was. The young man in embroidered clothes saw that all the new students were looking at him, and his expression kept changing. If they couldn't teach this kid a painful lesson in the future, their young master's mercenary group would become a complete joke among the new students. Pa! The young man in embroidered clothes slowly walked towards Wang Xian. As he stepped on the ground, he let out a crisp sound and revealed a cold expression. Kid, do you want to die? All right, I'll grant your wish. As he spoke, he swept his gaze across everyone behind him and shouted loudly. Today, as a member of the young master's mercenary group, I will issue a mission. Beat this kid up for 20,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. Cripple 1 arm for 50,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. 2 arms for 100,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. 4 limbs for 200,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. Anyone who can complete the task can come directly to our young master's mercenary group to collect the spirit stones. You don't have to worry about our reputation. As the young man spoke, he slowly turned his head and stared at Wang Xian again. His gaze was cold as he said, Kid, I'm going to make sure that you can't stay in the Demon Hunters Academy anymore. In the future, the Demon Hunters Academy will be hell for you. What the fuck? He gave you 20,000 middle-grade spirit stones after a beating and 50,000 for a crippled arm. This is way too rich. Fuck. If I crippled a limb of this kid, I would be able to buy more than a dozen elixirs. This guy is done for. However, it shouldn't be too much of a problem if he is a little more careful. After all, if the seniors want to fight with him, they have to obtain his consent. Unless there is someone among us freshmen who can cripple him. Cripple him? I reckon that there aren't many freshmen who can do so. This fellow is very strong. The surrounding students immediately went into an uproar. 200,000 middle-grade spirit stones was enough to purchase dozens of transcendent grade 2 pills. Even grade 3 pills were enough to purchase quite a few. Giving them 200,000 middle-grade spirit stones was enough to fully equip them. Many of the students were tempted. Some of the class leaders were even hesitating whether they should make a move or not. Wang Xian looked at the young man in embroidered clothes. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Then, he looked at the students around him who were eager to give it a try. A hint of coldness flashed across his eyes. Why? Does someone want these spirit stones? He glanced at everyone arrogantly and said coldly, Haha, of course I want them. 200,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. TSK, I don't have so many spiritual stones even if I complete some silver level 3 to 4 missions. 4 to 5 young men beside Wang Xian laughed out loud as soon as he finished his words. Others might not agree if you guys came to spar with this new student. 3 to 4 young men spoke to them after they finished their words. Sigh, what a pity. We can only stay here and watch the show. They chatted and laughed as a hint of passion flashed in their eyes. They wanted to spar with Wang Xian and cripple his limbs as well. However, due to the age restriction and the academy's rules, the other party could reject their challenge. If they were of the same level, they couldn't reject their challenge unless they admitted defeat. I'll do it. Senior of the Young Masters Mercenary Group, I'm here to accept your mission. A young man walked out from the front of Class 5's group of students and said with a smile, Let me do it! The leader of Class 5, the strongest student of Class 5, walked out with a twinkle in his eyes. However, he had just taken 2 steps when another voice sounded. When this voice rang out, everyone was stunned. The voice came from the arena. Everyone looked over and revealed a look of astonishment. Qin Shan is actually going to make a move. He's going to cripple that kid. Qin Shan's family background isn't that good to begin with. These 200,000 spirit stones are still relatively precious to him. If Qin Shan makes a move, that Wang Xian is going to be finished. This is going to be interesting. I didn't expect that the strongest first-grade student would want to deal with him. The surrounding students revealed a look of surprise. They looked at the strongest first-grade student who was standing proudly on the stage, and then looked at Wang Xian below. A mocking expression appeared on their faces. Xiao Shan! Qin Qing saw that her younger brother was about to come out. She frowned slightly and shouted at Qin Shan. It's all right, sister. If I don't cripple his limbs, others will cripple him too. A confident smile appeared on Qin Shan's face. Haha, if younger brother Qin Shan wants to cripple that kid, I'll ask Young Masters Mercenary Group to give you 400,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Seeing that Qin Shan was about to make a move, the young man in embroidered clothes in front of him had a thought and shouted loudly. He turned his head and smiled at Qin Qing in an attempt to curry favor. He directly raised the spirit stones to 400,000 spirit stones. Firstly, he could cripple that brat immediately. Secondly, he could curry favor with Qin Qing, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. All right. A fiery look flashed across Qin Shan's eyes as he stared at Wang Xian. He slowly extended his hand and hooked his finger. Come on up. Let me see what kind of strength you have. You came to say that the Young Masters Mercenary Group is useless. If you don't have the strength, then you're out of luck. As Qin Shan spoke, he stared coldly at Wang Xian. Come on up. You want to cripple my limbs? Wang Xian looked at Qin Shan on the stage and asked coldly. You can cripple it yourself, Qin Shan said calmly with a face full of confidence. Cool. As expected of the leader of all the students in our first grade. His boldness is awesome. Regardless of whether it's strength or temperament, Qin Shan is very powerful. Haha, with Qin Shan's strength, it should be easy for him to cripple that Wang Xian. When the surrounding people heard Qin Shan's reply, admiration appeared on their faces. Wang Xian sneered in his heart. He moved his body and flew directly to the arena. You asked for it, he said faintly. Hee hee. Qin Shan smiled confidently and made a hand gesture. Xiao Shan, be careful! Qin looked at Qin Shan on the stage and reminded him with a frown. Go, Qin Shan! Go, Qin Shan, you're the best! Cripple him! Below, a group of girls were shouting and cheering without holding back. The corner of Qin Shan's mouth curled up slightly and he said proudly, I'll let you make the first move! Chapter 975, Number 1 among the freshmen, useless. Down. I'll let you make the first move. Qin Shan was wearing a pair of metal gloves and a black armor on his entire arm. A faint flame rose from his arm as he stared at Wang Xian with a smile on his face. His body was a little thin and weak, but he looked full of explosive power. His handsome face had a tough temperament. Around the arena, a group of students were watching closely and cheering for Qin Shan. He was born in a poor family, but he was unwilling to admit defeat. With his own hard work, he had achieved the first rank of the new students in the Demon Hunter College. He was the best among all the students of the same level. He could be said to be the model of the main character, the true son of heaven. Wang Xian looked at Qin Shan and revealed a faint sneer. Then I'll make my move first. Come on, hee. Qin Shan smiled faintly. He was definitely going to get 400,000 middle-grade spirit stones. Boom. At this moment, Wang Xian moved. He didn't use any attributes. His 5 fingers formed into a claw and grabbed towards Qin Shan. You're pretty fast. Qin Shan was astonished when he saw Wang Xian's attack. His face was solemn. Boom. In an instant, his arm was emitting terrifying flames. The flames turned into a group of fiery red snakes that coiled around his arm. Come on! His eyes were filled with fighting spirit as he went straight for Wang Xian's claw. Boom! The fire snakes that were coiled around his arm charged forward. They opened their huge mouths and bit at Wang Xian's claw. Through the flames, Wang Xian could see the cold smile on Qin Shan's face. Left arm! Wang Xian said indifferently as his claw suddenly accelerated. Bang! What? Not good! In an instant, Wang Xian's claw directly crushed the fire snake that was almost solid. He clenched his fist tightly, causing his expression to change drastically. Crack! 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 Wang Xian turned his palm and the sound of breaking was heard. Hiss! Qin Shan felt the breaking of his left arm and his expression changed drastically. His forehead was instantly filled with cold sweat. However, the tenacious him did not shout out as he sucked in a breath of cold air. His arm is broken! However, when the crowd below saw their first move, Qin Shan's arm was directly broken and deformed. The crowd of girls below cried out in surprise. Even some of the boys' pupils could not help but constrict as they sucked in a breath of cold air. Qin's expression changed drastically as she placed both her hands on the edge of the arena. Her face was filled with worry. Let go of me! Qin Shan roared as he clenched his right hand tightly. His fist transformed into a ferocious tiger and smashed towards Wang Xian. Snake soaring tiger roar! This move was a supernatural ability. Tiger like real tiger, red flame real tiger. You want to cripple my limbs? Wang Xian's expression did not change as he extended his right hand. Boom! The terrifying roar of the flames was extinguished as Wang Xian grabbed his right hand. Crack! 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 His right arm was broken again. This time, Qin Shan couldn't help but scream out in pain. When everyone around saw that Qin Shan's right arm was broken again, they were shocked. How? How is this possible? How can he be so strong? A girl who was cheering loudly earlier had a look of shock on her face as she mumbled in a daze. Stop! Qin's expression changed drastically as she shouted in a hurry. If people don't provoke me, I won't provoke them either. For limbs, then for limbs! Qin Shan's face was filled with cold sweat as he looked at Wang Xian in horror. Both of his arms were grabbed and completely crippled. His body was trembling slightly. Bang! Wang Xian didn't stop. I won't attack unless you attack me. Since you want my 4 limbs, I want your 4 limbs as well. Who cares who you are? Good or bad? You have to take responsibility for what you have done. Ah! Wang Xian stomped down and Qin Shan knelt heavily on the ground. His left leg was crippled. Stop! This time, Qin, who was standing beside the arena, was completely flustered. Her body moved and she flew directly to the arena. What? You want to make a move too? Wang Xian glanced at Qin Shan, who was half kneeling in front of him. He looked at Qin, who was flying up, and asked coldly. My younger brother has admitted defeat. Let my younger brother go. Qin's expression changed as she gritted her teeth and said, Hee, why didn't you stop me just now? Wang Xian revealed a hint of mockery on his face as he moved his right leg. Bang! Boom! Oh! Qin Shan's pained cry was heard. Both of his legs knelt directly in front of Wang Xian as he let out a pained cry. Wang Xian didn't even look at him. He looked at Qin and said, He said that he wanted to cripple my 4 limbs, so I crippled his 4 limbs. I have no enmity with him. Now, it's very fair. He smiled faintly and kicked Qin Shan to the ground. A trash like you still dares to ask for 400,000 spiritual stones? Wang Xian looked at Qin Shan, who was covered in cold sweat, and mocked him faintly. Xiao Shan! Qin's expression changed drastically. She quickly ran over and examined his 4 limbs. How is this possible? Qin Shan looked at Wang Xian in disbelief and felt his 4 limbs. His face was pale. Sister, how are my 4 limbs? He asked in horror. It's fine. As long as there are enough elixirs, it can be cured. Qin's eyes were slightly red as she spoke. Following that, she turned her head in anger and stared at Wang Xian with a trembling body. You are so ruthless! I repeat, he is the one who wanted to cripple my 4 limbs. If there is a next time, I can guarantee that he will be a dead person. Wang Xian frowned and said to her with a cold gaze. Qin bit her lips and stared at Wang Xian. She turned her head with an embarrassed expression. She also knew that it was her younger brother who wanted to cripple his limbs this time. However, he is so powerful. How could he be so strong? Oh my God! He defeated Qin Shan in 1 move. He didn't even have the ability to resist. Qin Shan is the strongest student that was selected by the academy in the past 2 days. He is the leader of the 1st grade students, but his 4 limbs were instantly crippled. He doesn't even have the strength to resist. The surrounding students had shocked expressions on their faces. This was too fast. Their new student was instantly killed and his 4 limbs were easily crippled. This made them feel that it was somewhat absurd and unbelievable. Luckily I didn't make a move just now. His strength is at least at Transcendent level rank 4. When the team leader of Class 5 saw Qin Shan's outcome, he wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. This was too fierce. The first freshman had been instantly killed. If he were to go up, he would also be instantly killed. What powerful strength! This strength, Around the arena, when the senior students saw this scene, they were also dumbstruck. This strength seemed to be stronger than all of them. Within the Demon Hunter College, 10% of the students were at the peak of Transcendent Level 2, 60% were at Transcendent Level 3, 29% were at Transcendent Level 4, the remaining 80 to 90 were at Transcendent Level 5, and Transcendent Level 6 could be counted with one's bare hands. Moreover, these Transcendent Level 6 students were all students of the highest age, and among them, a few of them possessed bloodlines. Only a few monstrous geniuses would normally cultivate to rank 6 Transcendents. In the entire Star Moon Kingdom, the Demon Hunter Academy's rank 6 Transcendents would rank in the top 50. Chapter 976 Senior Useless. In the Demon Hunter Academy, having the strength of a Transcendent Level 4 was already considered pretty good. In the future, when he graduated, he would be fought over by the various mercenary groups. After all, a transcendent level 4 expert around the age of 40 was still very young. In East Sea City, there were many people who were still at transcendent level 4 at the age of 100 to 200. A transcendent level 4 at the age of 40 already had the possibility of becoming a top-notch powerhouse. Wang Xian had reached transcendent level 4 at his current age. He was definitely a monster. He was already stronger than 70% of the people in Transcendence Academy. Trash from the useless mercenary group, don't let some trash come and cripple my limbs. If you have the strength, come up yourself. Wang Xian stood on the arena and ignored Qin Shan and Qin Qing. He pointed at the young man in embroidered clothes from the young master's mercenary group and mocked. You! The young man in embroidered robes' face that was changing violently gradually turned gloomy. He stared at Wang Xian with an extremely embarrassed expression. The strength that Wang Xian displayed just now had given him a huge shock. He saw that Wang Xian was actually pointing at him and asking him to come up. He was both angry and furious. He was a 6th grade student of the Demon Hunters Academy and a member of the famous Young Masters mercenary group in the academy. And now, he was actually being mocked by a new student. Even if this new student's strength was somewhat monstrous. But this still made him incomparably furious. Unforgivable. Ha, good, let me come up. Challenge me? Very good, very good. The youth in embroidered clothes was so angry that he laughed instead, and a savage expression appeared on his face. His figure moved, directly jumping onto the arena. With a flick of his finger, a golden longsword appeared in his hand. Following that, a set of armor appeared in front of him. The armor shone with a golden glow. One look and one could tell that it was extraordinary. Wearing it, the young man in embroidered clothes stared at Wang Xian coldly, the long sword in his hand pointed straight at Wang Xian. Kid, don't think that you can be arrogant just because you have some strength. Today, I will let you know the price of offending our young master's mercenary group. Hee hee. Wang Xian smiled coldly. Are you going to cripple your limbs? It's good that you know. The young man in embroidered clothes narrowed his eyes and said coldly. Damn, Wang Xian actually challenged a senior of a higher grade. Furthermore, he is a member of the Young Masters mercenary group. The equipment on the senior is at Transcendence level 5. He is simply too rich. He is wearing a set of armor and weapons at Transcendence level 5. This Wang Xian is courting death. With the weapons and armor on the senior, an ordinary Transcendent level 4 powerhouse is no match for him. He is too arrogant. Does he think that he can defeat a Transcendent level 4 senior just by killing Qin Shan in an instant? All the surrounding students were stunned when they saw Wang Xian challenging a Transcendent level 4 senior. Especially when they saw the weapon and armor that the young senior in embroidered clothes took out, they were even more shocked. This set of equipment was worth millions of middle-grade spirit stones. Cripple him, cripple him! Not far away from the arena, in the middle of Class 3's students, Duan Qingwen muttered softly with a pale face. When Wang Xian made his move just now, he did give him a fright. When he recalled how he was displeased with him for the past 2 days and how he mocked him, he was even more alarmed. If Wang Xian wanted to take revenge on him, he could easily toy with him to death. Your young master's mercenary group is really annoying. Wang Xian looked at the young man in embroidered clothes. With a move of his palm, a red wooden sword appeared in his hand. Oh? He annoying? In the future, we will also be your nightmares. The young man in embroidered clothes gritted his teeth and raised his head slightly. He glanced at Qin Shan, who was lying on the ground, and Qin Qing, whose eyes were slightly red. How dare you attack student Qin Shan with such force? Later on, I will make you pay back tenfold. He raised his voice and said loudly. Tenfold! Wang Xian sneered. He raised the long sword in his hand and attacked the young man in brocade instantly. Today, I will teach you a good lesson! Seeing Wang Xian attacking him directly, the young man in brocade shouted loudly. The golden longsword emitted a golden glow. The sword was like the sharp beak of a bird as it went straight for Wang Xian. Boom! Wang Xian waved the red longsword in his hand. Flames instantly engulfed the arena within a radius of 1,000 meters. Qin Qing's expression changed slightly. She hugged her younger brother's body and flew down immediately. They're fighting! They're fighting! This Wang Xian is so confident. He actually dares to fight against a senior who is at level 4 of the supernatural realm. No matter what, this Wang Xian is the strongest in our first grade. Even if he is the strongest, he will still be defeated by a senior who is at level 5 of the supernatural realm in front of him. That's right. When the flames engulfed the entire arena, everyone was shocked as they started discussing. Qin Qing and Qin Shan, who had come down, stared intently at the arena. The golden light and flames blocked many people's vision. Those present had basically not reached Transcendent Level 4, so they could not see the world that was enveloped by the flames and golden light clearly. Ah! However, very quickly it could even be said that it happened in an instant. Screams of pain could be heard from the arena. The screams were filled with fear, as if they were facing the threat of death. What? What's going on? It's that senior's voice. The expressions of everyone who heard this voice changed drastically. Boom! At this moment, the flames and golden light on the arena instantly disappeared, and a body flew heavily towards the bottom of the arena. And along with him were his arms. Both of his arms had been chopped off. Directly chopped off. In the Transcendent Continent, 2 severed arms could be recovered, but the amount of spirit stones needed to recover the medicinal pills was at least tens of millions of middle-grade spirit stones. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to recover. Seeing the severed arms, everyone was stupefied. Oh! My arm, my arm! The hair of the young man heavily fell to the ground, and his face was filled with fear. He shouted loudly, sounding extremely miserable. Everyone was stunned, and when they saw the miserable state of the young man, they couldn't help but retreat. This, gulp! Hiss! Some people couldn't help but swallow their saliva, while some people sucked in a breath of cold air, and their bodies couldn't help but retreat. To cut off both of his arms directly, such a brutal action would result in a huge execution in the Demon Hunter College. Such an action had a high possibility of being expelled from the Demon Hunter College. He was actually so brutal. So brutal! In the future, if anyone from your young master's mercenary group dares to bother me, I will cripple them and tell everyone in your young master's mercenary group. Also, Wang Xian raised his head and swept his gaze across the surroundings. Everyone met his gaze and avoided his gaze. In the future, if you provoke me, you have to think about whether you can bear the consequences. As he spoke, he smiled coldly and jumped off the stage. Trash! Seeing Qin Shan staring at him, Wang Xian said disdainfully and walked out. Qin Shan's face turned pale and Qin Qin clenched her fist tightly. Chapter 977 was in an uproar. The entire arena was silent. Everyone stared blankly as the figure disappeared from their sight. They looked at Qin Shan, who was lying on the ground, and then at the young man in embroidered clothes. Just now, Qin Shan had used his powerful strength to suppress everyone, becoming the #1 freshman and the strongest freshman. But now, all 4 of his limbs were crippled. Just now, the noble and superior member of the young master's mercenary group, the Genie Senior, had his arms chopped off. He was even more miserable than Qin Shan. It was all because of that young man, that new student, Wang Xian. How strong is he exactly? A young man mumbled and couldn't help but swallow another mouthful of saliva. This. Cold sweat kept dripping down Duan Qingwen's forehead. His eyes were filled with fear. A guy who dared to cut off the arms of a member of the young master's mercenary group, even a senior, was too brutal. If he were to treat him like this, wouldn't he be finished? He couldn't take out spirit stones to restore his arms. Once his arms were cut off, his life would be over. Now, he felt lucky that Wang Xian did not pay attention to him at that time. Otherwise, he could not imagine the consequences. The expressions on the faces of the rest of the freshmen were also very interesting. This was the king of the freshmen, the strongest among the freshmen. A senior at Transcendent Level 4 was cut off in less than 10 seconds. This was Transcendent Level 4. In that case, his strength was at least at Transcendent Level 4. As for whether he was stronger, they didn't know. But even so, he was already very impressive. One had to know that among the first-grade freshmen, there were no more than 10 students who had reached Transcendent Level 3. As for Transcendent Level 4, it was something that the Demon Hunter College hadn't seen in 10 years. Such strength was already on a different level from them. Damn it! Our young master's mercenary group will not let you off. Lu Mihai will not let you off! At this moment, a ferocious expression appeared on the face of the young man in brocade. An angry voice sounded around the arena. Chin, that kid is too arrogant. He actually attacked so heavily. The girls from the Amethyst mercenary group hurriedly walked to Chin's side. They looked at her brother's broken limbs and revealed an angry expression. Let's treat Xiao Shan first. Chin's eyes were bloodshot as she carried Qin Shan and said with a sullen face. HMPH, let's report this to teacher. That fellow's actions are so ruthless, he should be expelled. That's right, a mere freshman is actually so arrogant. Does he really think that he's invincible in the Demon Hunters Academy? It's easy for our Amethyst mercenary group to deal with him. A few girls beside her said with displeasure. Let's go. We can't let this matter go so easily. Qin gritted her teeth and said with an embarrassed expression. The injuries on Qin Shan's body were not as simple as she said. If he wanted to be completely healed, he would need at least 1,000,000 middle-grade spirit stones. After all, even though Wang Xian did not sever his limbs just now, the inside of his body had already been shattered. 1,000,000 middle-grade spirit stones was a terrifying amount of money in their house. Where did this money come from? Qin's expression was extremely ugly. There was only one way, to borrow it from the leader. However, if she were to repay the debt later. Just you wait. Lu Minghai's low voice came from the side. He walked out with a ferocious expression. Qin looked at him. There was some anger in her eyes as well as some helplessness. If Lu Minghai didn't say that he would beat Wang Xian up and give him so many spirit stones, her younger brother wouldn't have made a move. If it wasn't for her younger brother giving him 400,000 middle-grade spirit stones, he wouldn't have fallen into such a situation. Qin left helplessly. After watching Qin, Lu Minghai and the rest leave, the new students left slowly. The events that had happened here today would probably spread throughout the entire Demon Hunters Academy soon. Just as they had said, the events that had happened in the arena for the new students quickly spread through the Demon Hunters Academy's internal communication stone plate. When everyone saw this news, they were all dumbfounded. Damn, it can't be true, right? Are the new students so fierce now? He directly cut off Lu Minghai's arms. Is he that ferocious? Is he openly provoking the young master's mercenary group again? That young man is called Wang Xian. He openly threatened the young master's mercenary group not to provoke him. Otherwise, he would have his limbs crippled. This is the first person who dares to challenge the young master's mercenary group. Lu Minghai's arms were directly cut off. If he wants to recover, he would need at least 10,000,000 middle-grade spirit stones. He is completely at odds with the young master's mercenary group. It's not just the young master's mercenary group. Qin's younger brother was also crippled by Wang Xian. He even provoked the Amethyst mercenary group. I heard that Qin's younger brother needs at least 10,000,000 middle-grade spirit stones for his limbs to be healed. Qin has quite a good relationship with the Amethyst mercenary group. There are probably many of her sisters who want to avenge her. This new student's strength is really terrifying. His talent can be ranked at the top in our Demon Hunter College. So what if he's terrifying? Now that he has provoked Young Master's mercenary group and Amethyst's mercenary group, that kid is probably finished. Within the communication stone plate, a group of Demon Hunter Academy students were discussing what had happened today. Towards a new student who had offended the Demon Hunter Academy's two large mercenary groups, Everyone was somewhat dumbstruck. No matter how powerful you were, if you directly provoked the Demon Hunter Academy's two powerful mercenary groups, you would be doomed in the future. It was not impossible for you to die in the wild. What an arrogant kid! Very good, very good. It has been a long time since someone dared to provoke our young master's mercenary group. At this moment, in the west of the Demon Hunters Academy, there was an area. This area was the base of the Academy's mercenary group. Some of the top mercenary groups of the Academy would establish a headquarters here. In a luxurious courtyard, there were tables, chairs, and benches placed all around. More than 10 young men sat on chairs one by one. In the front seat, a young man was feeding a 2-meter-long black bird with fresh fierce beast meat. As he was feeding it, he said coldly, "Lu Hyaming has gone to treat it. That kid has slapped our young master's mercenary group twice in a row. Those who don't know better will think that we are easy to bully." Beside them, a young man wearing a black hat leaned back on a chair and said slowly with his head held high, "Then we won't play with him. Find an opportunity to directly kill him." The young man feeding the black bird said faintly, "Get someone to monitor that kid. If he leaves the city or accepts any mission, report immediately." The group of young men in the courtyard said. They didn't have much of a reaction to what happened today. Dogs that bite don't bark. They were a group of young masters with extraordinary families. They didn't just rely on spirit stones to make their young master's mercenary group become the 6th-ranked existence in the Demon Hunters Academy. It was their own strength. Chapter 978 Thunder Island. After walking out of the arena, Wang Xian returned to his residence. Wang Xian didn't care about crippling Lu Minghai and Qin Shan. The two of them were courting death. Wang Xian had a limit to his patience. After being provoked one after another, he naturally wanted to make an example out of others. He warned the others that if they provoked him again, they should think about the consequences first. As for the young master's mercenary group's revenge, if they still dared to take revenge, they would do it. Wang Xian would not show any mercy. The next morning, Wang Xian did not go to class. Instead, he walked straight to the Demon Hunters Academy's mission office. The Demon Hunters Academy's mission office was where the students of the Demon Hunters Academy received their missions. This mission office was connected to the missions of the Mercenary Association outside the Academy. However, there was a difference. There were special missions that could not be obtained from the hiring association within the mission office of the Demon Hunters Academy. Sometimes, the Academy would issue large-scale missions as well as assessment missions. After completing the mission, not only would one be rewarded, one would also be able to obtain points. Points could be exchanged for information and treasures. The students of the Demon Hunters Academy would all receive missions from the mission office. "That's Wang Xian. It's him. The young man who chopped off Lu Minghai's arm is very strong. What is a freshman doing here? Is he doing a mission?" There's no movement from the young master's mercenary group and the Amethyst mercenary group. Could they be secretly preparing to deal with him? The place where the Demon Hunters Academy received their missions was similar to the Construction and Employment Association. There were many students around him. When he entered the hall, many of them recognized him immediately. However, it was different from 2 days ago. Today, these students were only discussing and no one came up to provoke him. His vicious methods had indeed made many people fearful. Wang Xian walked straight ahead. On the screen in front, there were all kinds of missions scrolling. Ao Yao and the rest would be back in 2 days. Therefore, he had to look for some missions in the next 2 days. He had to look for good missions and search for information. When the time came, he would start doing missions to increase his strength. With a glance, he saw all kinds of missions. After the mission reward, there were also points reward. For a silver-level mission, the points would be at least 1,000. For a gold-level mission, the points could reach up to 10,000. And if one wanted to exchange for a transcendent level 5 weapon, they would need 1,000,000 points. Of course, if the points were insufficient, they could use spirit stones to make up for it. Thunderstorm region, Dragon Wind region, Wind Arrow Mountain Region, Forest Region, Water Region. Wang Xian looked at the mission screen. It was completely different from the Mercenary Association. The missions of the Demon Hunter College were actually divided into regions. These 5 regions were the places near Donghai City where missions were conducted. They were also the regions where wild beasts were more concentrated. Other than the lush forest region, the rest were in the ocean. Whichever region one was more familiar with would be chosen. This would greatly increase the success rate of the mission. In addition, when searching for information, one would also be able to choose the corresponding region better. Wang Xian looked at the missions in each region with a face full of curiosity. The lowest mission was Silver Grade and the highest was Diamond Grade. The highest mission was 5-star Diamond Grade. Hunting the Dragon Phoenix Demonic Beast King in the Dragon Wind region. The Dragon Phoenix Demonic Beast King was a terrifying demon at the first level of the Void Interpretation realm. He would extract its essence and blood. Let's go, the special mission is about to start. According to the investigation of the experts in the Academy, the Thunder Island in the Thunderstorm region has been lacking in lightning recently. We can enter it successfully and obtain the Thunder Fruit. The Thunder Island is a land of treasures. It is covered by lightning all year round. There are many thunder-type creatures and many treasures inside. However, according to the records, the danger of the Thunder Island is a little high. Those who are below Transcendent Level 4 will be courting death if they enter. The Academy has already issued the mission. Go and accept the mission. Just as Wang Xian was investigating the mission, a series of boisterous voices suddenly came from behind. Wang Xian turned his head around in puzzlement, and saw students walking towards the mission announcement. He looked over in puzzlement, and indeed, there was a special mission at the side. The special mission represented the unique mission of the Demon Hunter College. Head to the Thunder Island to obtain the Thunder Fruit, 1-star gold mission. 1 extraordinary 5th grade Thunder Fruit. Reward 50,000 middle grade Spirit Stones and 1,000 points. Rank 6 Extraordinary Thunder Fruit. Reward 400,000 middle grade Spirit Stones, 10,000 points. Rank 7 Extraordinary Thunder Fruit. 3 million middle grade Spirit Stones, 100,000 points. Note: the lowest rank of the creatures on the Thunder Island is rank 3 Extraordinary. Those below rank 4 Extraordinary are best not to enter. The reward for this mission is so high. On the market, a rank 5 Extraordinary Spiritual Herb Spiritual Fruit is worth between 40,000 and 50,000 points. And this is without any points. Wang Xian was intrigued. The Thunder Island was located in the middle of the ocean and was filled with aquatic creatures. The lowest level of the beasts was level 3 Transcendence. By devouring them, one could increase their dragon energy. Wang Xian's eyes flickered. He took out the badge of the mercenary group and immediately walked towards the place where he received the mission. Qin, you must go too. You should know that although your strength is not bad, it is still a little dangerous to go to the Thunder Island. Deputy Leader, I have to go this time. Don't worry, I won't become a burden to you guys. You guys don't have to help me either. Sai, you don't have to rush to repay the Spirit Stones you owe the team. You're only in the 3rd grade and your talent is very good. Now you should focus on your training and accumulate experience. There's no need to take the risk. Deputy Leader, just let me go. Such opportunities are rare for me. At this moment, the voices of 2 girls came from behind. Wang Xian was slightly taken aback and turned around. There were 7 to 8 girls. Each of them looked valiant with weapons in their hands. The one who was in the middle of the conversation was a girl with short hair. This girl was slightly burly. Wang Xian knew the one who was talking to her, Qin, the sister of Qin Shan, whose limbs were crippled by him. All right. The slightly burly Amethyst mercenary group looked at Qin's pleas and nodded helplessly. I promise you, but you have to be careful. Thank you, Deputy Leader. Don't worry. Qin revealed a smile on her face. When she turned her head around, she immediately saw Wang Xian and her expression instantly darkened. It's you! Before Qin could speak, A girl at the side recognized Wang Xian and sized him up coldly. So you're the one who crippled Qin Qing's younger brother's limbs. HMPH, your methods are so cruel. The other girls looked over and stared at Wang Xian coldly. The deputy leader of the Amethyst mercenary group also raised his eyebrows. Shut up! Wang Xian glanced at them and said coldly before turning around. You! Kid, who are you talking about? A girl glared at Wang Xian and questioned him loudly. Don't bother me! Wang Xian was a little impatient. After saying that, he passed the badge to the staff in front of him. Take the mission from the Thunder Island! All right. The female staff who was sitting inside looked at the badge in surprise. Then, she looked outside and nodded. Chapter 979. Was preparing to take revenge? He asked us to leave you alone? To accept the mission from the Thunder Island? The mission from the Thunder Island. Did he also accept the mission from the Thunder Island? When the group of girls from the Amethyst mercenary group heard Wang Xian's words, their eyes sparkled as they stared at him. Wang Xian didn't pay attention to the gazes of the group of girls behind him. He took back his mercenary badge and turned around to leave. Hee, what a coincidence. We are going to the Thunder Island too. When the time comes, don't let us meet you. Otherwise, although I won't kill you, I will teach you a good lesson. That's right. You'd better pray that you won't meet us on the Thunder Island. A few girls glared at Wang Xian angrily when they saw him leaving with an expressionless face. When the time comes, I hope all of you can still say such things. Wang Xian paused for a moment and looked at them mockingly. Before long, I will defeat you and make you apologize to my younger brother. Qin Qing gritted her teeth and said firmly to Wang Xian. He smiled faintly and walked out directly. Earlier, he used his dark fire dragon eyes to check their good and evil points. All of them were considered good people and Wang Xian couldn't be bothered to argue with them. HMPH, kid, just you wait. What's there to be proud of? It'll be easy for us to take care of you. That's right, that's right. If our vice leader makes a move, he'll be able to beat you down easily. The group of girls from the Amethyst mercenary group behind them spoke with slight disdain when they saw Wang Xian leaving immediately. The burly girl who was standing in the middle smiled faintly and didn't say anything. Looks like that freshman Wang Xian really offended the Amethyst mercenary group. That's right. The Amethyst mercenary group is famous for their unity. It's just that I didn't expect that Wang Xian would actually accept the mission from the Thunder Island. Does he have the ability to do so? In the hall, the students of the Demon Hunters Academy who witnessed this scene were discussing curiously. That kid is leaving the city for a mission at this time. I think he's courting death. He's too stupid. In a corner, a young man suddenly whispered to his companions. Huh? What do you mean? His companions looked at him in surprise. Look, the Amethyst mercenary group clearly wanted to teach him a lesson just now. Besides the purple-gold mercenary group, there's also the young master mercenary group. He looked around and his gaze fell on a skinny young man. Finally, he added, that kid has been targeted. He's probably going to die. Finished? The gazes of the youths froze, and they fell silent. The Demon Hunter Academy was a very special academy. It didn't belong to Star Moon Kingdom, nor did it belong to any faction. It was only a place to nurture mercenary groups. In fact, the founder of the Demon Hunter Academy was a mercenary group. Other than being isolated and being taught by instructors, the Demon Hunter Academy was no different from a mercenary group in the outside world. If you died while you were in school, the Academy would not care about it. Even if the Academy knew who killed you in the wild, the Academy would not avenge you. That was because this was a place to train mercenary groups. That was the rule of the mercenary group world. Therefore, in the Demon Hunters Academy, it was not uncommon for people to kill each other for revenge. Some of them were even public. For example, the 100 Source mercenary group, who was ranked 9th, and the Black Wind mercenary group, who was ranked 12th, were mortal enemies. When these two mercenary groups met in the wild, They basically risked their lives and even found an opportunity to ambush each other. In the battle between the two mercenary groups, dozens of people died. This was something that was made public in the Academy, but the Demon Hunters Academy would not care about it. As long as they followed the rules in the Academy, it would be fine. Other than the Academy, no one would ask if they were dead or alive. Obviously, if that young man went to the Thunder Island for a mission at this time, the young master's mercenary group would definitely not let go of this good opportunity. Wang Xian came out from the mission office and walked straight to the library. He was going to search for information about the Thunder Island to prepare for his trip to the Thunder Island in 2 days. I want to search for information. Wang Xian walked to the staff and asked him directly. What information do you want to search for? The staff asked him. Information about the Thunder Island and the Thunderstorm region. Wang Xian replied directly. There are a lot of information about the Thunderstorm region. If you want to search freely, you need 500,000 points. The staff said to Wang Xian directly. That much? How do you exchange points and spirit stones? 100 middle grade spirit stones, 1 point. That's really expensive. Wang Xian took a deep breath and exchanged 10,000 points. This method of buying points was rarely done. It was too expensive and was an unfair trade. However, this was the rule of the Demon Hunters Academy. Without points, one could not check the information. 10,000 points. Although one could not check the information of the entire Thunderstorm district, they could check the information of the vicinity of the Thunder Island. However, just as Wang Xian was checking the information, something happened at the position of the young master's mercenary group. Deputy Leader, are we really going to send the information to the Academy's forum? A young man from the young master's mercenary group frowned slightly and asked. Yes, that kid provoked us so much. We must let everyone know the consequences of provoking us. The young man holding the communication stone plate smiled faintly. The Academy won't ask about it anyway. I also want to see if that kid is a coward. We have plenty of time. A fat young man beside him said with a smile. Everyone laughed and chatted. 10 minutes later, a post from the Demon Hunters Academy caused a huge sensation. Wang Xian, let's meet on Thunder Island. It was a very short line of words. The message that was posted showed Yunhanhai. Almost everyone in the Demon Hunters Academy knew the name Yunhanhai. He was the deputy leader of the Young Master's mercenary group. He was the young master of the Yun family, a famous bloodline family in Eastern Sea City. The Yun family was a family with a level 9 extraordinary bloodline. They were members of the family and could successfully reach level 9 extraordinary after activating all their bloodlines. Yun Hanhai's current strength had reached level 6 extraordinary. He was a top-notch expert in the Demon Hunter College. His words could represent the young master's mercenary group. This short line of words also meant that the young master's mercenary group would make a move against Wang Xian on the Thunder Island. This was a blatant threat and warning. What the fuck, that freshman Wang Xian is going to the Thunder Island for a mission. Haha, I saw a group of goddesses from the Purple Gold mercenary group at the mission office wanting to teach this Wang Xian a good lesson on the Thunder Island. I didn't expect the young master's mercenary group to make a move as well. If the young master's mercenary group announced it directly, would Wang Xian still dare to go? A new student who just arrived should keep a low profile. Now he's doomed. Moreover, with his strength, he can go to the Thunder Island? Can he complete the mission? One by one, replies appeared below. When a new student provoked the young master's mercenary group, everyone knew that this new student was going to be unlucky. Moreover, this time's misfortune was very likely to be death. Chapter 980, returned and set off. Many people in the Demon Hunters Academy were discussing the grudge between Wang Xian and the Young Master's mercenary group and the Amethyst mercenary group. Especially the matter between Wang Xian and the Young Master's mercenary group. Many people had already felt that based on Wang Xian's previous actions, the Young Master's mercenary group would only stop after he died. The grudge between them had already reached a very deep level. Wang Xian didn't know what happened in the Academy's forum. If he knew, not only would he not be angry, he would even be looking forward to it. It was more interesting to fight in the wild. If they attacked him in the wild, he would be able to obtain a lot of things. At the very least, the people he killed could become resources for the dragon pool. Wang Xian was very welcoming of their revenge. For the next day, Wang Xian spent the entire day in the library reading up on various information. Dragon King, we're back! 2 days later, when Wang Xian had just opened his eyes, Ao Yao's voice came from outside. Wang Xian smiled. Call Ao Jian and the rest over. It's the Dragon King! Soon Ao Yao, Ao Jian, and the rest arrived at the courtyard. Dragon King, these are all the spiritual stones obtained from the 3 assassinations. A total of 89 million middle-grade spiritual stones. Ao Yao handed over the 2 interspatial rings. Wang Xian took them and looked at the spiritual stones inside. A smile appeared on his face. Not bad! 89 million spiritual stones, together with the spiritual stones in his hands, amounted to more than 106 million. If he were to buy elixirs and exchange them for spirit stones, it would be equivalent to 70,000 to 80,000 dragon crystals. However, it was still very far away from upgrading to 1 million dragon crystals. Bring the badge of the Celestial Phoenix Mercenary Group and follow me, Wang Xian said to them directly. It's the Dragon King! The group of members of the Dragon Palace nodded immediately, and followed Wang Xian out of the city. When Wang Xian walked out of the courtyard, he sensed a gaze. Wang Xian swept his gaze across and looked at the thin and weak young man. A hint of mockery appeared at the corner of his mouth. This thin and weak young man had been following him for a few days. He knew who had sent him here. On the road, Wang Xian and the rest got off the horse carriage and rushed out of the city. Donghai City was very big. It would take half an hour to walk out of the city. The speed of the horse carriage was much faster. Beside the carriage, there were many people riding on ferocious beasts. All kinds of ferocious beasts were traveling at a speed that was no slower than the carriage. Should I get a mount in the future? Wang Xian thought to himself. After about 10 minutes, the carriage arrived at the entrance of the city. In front of them, there was an endless wasteland. Within a radius of 10 kilometers outside the city, there were no ferocious beasts. Only in the ocean would there be ferocious beasts. In the area outside the city, there were many mercenary groups and chambers of commerce coming in and out. It was unusually lively. After passing through the city wall, it was a completely different world. Inside the city, it was like a bustling city. Outside the city, it was like the end of the world. This was the supernatural world. Let's go! Wang Xian did not hesitate at all. With a move of his body, he immediately flew towards the location of the ocean. In the sky, there were at least a few thousand supernatural experts flying. Wang Xian increased his speed and flew towards the thunderstorm area. The thunderstorm area was 80 kilometers away from Donghai City. It would take more than an hour to fly there. Due to the radiation from Donghai City, there were not many flying ferocious beasts within a radius of tens of kilometers. Even if there were flying ferocious beasts, they would avoid them after seeing Wang Xian and the rest. The thunderstorm area is ahead. Lower the altitude. Wang Xian looked ahead. There were dark clouds in front of him, and heavy rain was pouring down at some locations. From time to time, lightning would pierce through the dark clouds as though it was tearing apart space. The entire area was so vast that one could not see the end of it. The dark clouds made the ocean that was tens of thousands of meters deep look extremely deep, as though it was an abyss. The sea and the sky were the same color, and it was extremely depressing. There were obviously fewer people flying around. As they walked deeper, they could see huge creatures emerging from the surface of the water from time to time. Most of these aquatic creatures were at transcendent level 4 and 5. In the ocean, these creatures were very difficult to deal with. Even if they were water elemental cultivators, it would take a lot of time to kill them. Wang Xian looked down with a strange look in his eyes. There aren't many ferocious beasts. he thought to himself as he looked into the distance. More than 10 kilometers away, there was an incomparably huge island standing in the middle of the ocean. The tallest mountain on the island was pierced through the black clouds. The strangest thing was that there were dense bolts of lightning around the island. According to the information Wang Xian got from the information, it was because there was a metal on the island that could attract lightning. The entire island was huge and there was a type of lightning tree on it. In the past, no one dared to enter this island. The occasional lightning could cause the death of an extraordinary level 5 or 6 powerhouse. Only those who were not afraid of death and were short of money dared to enter to search for the lightning fruit. The higher-ups of the Demon Hunters Academy received the news that the lightning here was much weaker than before. Hence, they gave out this mission. Why are there still so many people there? As they approached the Thunder Island, Wang Xian saw that there were more than 100 people gathered at the edge of the island. They are the students of the Demon Hunters Academy. Wang Xian narrowed his eyes slightly. Let's go, let's go! He moved his body and sped up towards the Thunder Island. Haha, 5 extraordinary level 6 thunderfish. Our luck is really good. It took us 2 hours to exhaust them to death. It's really not easy. Wang Xian had just flown over when he saw the corpses of the 5 ferocious beasts on the ground. They had 4 legs, but their bodies were similar to fish. The scales on their bodies were like lightning. At this moment, the 5 thunderfish had already been killed and were lying on the ground. Everyone, distribute the meritorious service according to the merit, a burly girl said to everyone around her. It's Deputy Leader Xiao. We didn't manage to find the thunder fruit, but we managed to kill 5 thunderfish together. It's also a great harvest. Haha, it's our good luck. As the group spoke, they began to distribute the loot. Someone is here. It's him, the new Wang Xian. A gold-level mercenary group, the Immortal Phoenix Mercenary Group? When the people on the Thunder Island saw Wang Xian, the atmosphere changed instantly. When they saw them, all of them had shocked expressions on their faces. This new Wang Xian was actually the leader of a gold-level mercenary group. Everyone looked at the girls from the Amethyst Mercenary Group. At this moment, everyone from the Amethyst Mercenary Group also saw Wang Xian. Qin Qing stared at Wang Xian and frowned slightly. HMPH, so it's an arrogant brat like you who is here. It's great that I can teach you a good lesson in the wilderness this time. A girl from the Amethyst Mercenary Group raised her head slightly and flexed her wrist. She sized up Wang Xian and the rest. Wang Xian's gaze swept across them. There were 7 to 8 mercenary groups in total. Among them, the Amethyst Mercenary Group was the strongest. Chapter 981, Arrived one by one. At the edge of the Thunder Island, a group of Demon Hunters Academy's mercenary group students stared at Wang Xian with a face full of curiosity and mockery. Some of them had been on the Thunder Island for a day, while others had been here for more than 10 hours. The students of Demon Hunters Academy would usually cooperate with each other in such special missions. If someone was in danger, they could call for help through the communication stone plate. 2 hours ago, when one of them just arrived, he was unlucky enough to encounter 5 transcendent level 6 thunderfish. They immediately called for help. Very soon, many mercenary groups on the Thunder Island rushed over and killed the thunderfish. A transcendent level 6 thunderfish was worth 500,000 to 600,000 mid-grade spirit stones. 5 of them meant more than 3 million. Although they had a larger number of people, they still managed to reap a lot of rewards. However, what surprised them was that they actually bumped into this influential person on campus, the new student Wang Xian. In the Academy's forum, everyone had been discussing about Wang Xian for the past 2 days. Furthermore, they were bumped into by the members of the Amethyst Mercenary Group. Wang Xian looked at the members of the Amethyst Mercenary Group who had an unfriendly expression. He raised his eyebrows slightly and stared at them coldly. Oh? Are you still not convinced? Kid, I don't like you very much. The girl from the Amethyst Mercenary Group raised her eyebrows and walked slowly toward Wang Xian. A faint pressure was emitted from her body. The aura of an extraordinary level 5 was clearly displayed. Sister Qing, you don't have to do it. Let us do it. This kid has offended classmate Qing Qing. Let us help you teach him a lesson. Around them, the leader of a mercenary group walked out with a smile and said to the girl, That's right, let us do it. Sister Qing, tell us how to teach this kid a lesson. Leave such a small matter to us. The young men quickly said. Among the people present, the Amethyst mercenary group was the strongest. Furthermore, they were the ones who had to depend on them to kill the 5 beasts that were at extraordinary level 6. The rest of them naturally wanted to curry favor with them. One by one, the students walked out and looked at Wang Xian and the rest provocatively. They smiled and said, Sister Qing, forget it. At this moment, Qing Qing, who was standing at the back, suddenly said, Huh! Xiao Qing, how can we just forget it? This kid hurt your younger brother. The girl was slightly stunned. She pointed at Wang Xian and said to her in astonishment, Forget it. Qing Qing shook her head with a complicated expression. It has already happened. Furthermore, Xiao Shan was the one who made the first move. So, forget it. If one day my strength becomes stronger, I will spar with him myself. This? Sister Qing saw that even Qing Qing, the person involved, had said so. She raised her eyebrows and said, Forget it then. Since Xiao Qing has said so, I will let you off this time. As she spoke, she raised her head slightly at Wang Xian. Hee, this is your well-known choice. Wang Xian saw their discussion and said indifferently, This time, it's your luck. As he spoke, he walked straight into the Thunder Island with a group of members of the Dragon Palace following behind him. You! When Sister Qing saw Wang Xian saying this, she was stunned. An angry expression instantly appeared on her face. You really don't know what's good for you. It seems like you need to be taught a lesson. Fuck, you're too arrogant. Student Qing Qing spared you once, yet you still dare to act pretentious. Sister Qing, as long as you say the word, we will fuck him immediately. That's right, you're too arrogant. When the people around heard Wang Xian's words, they also shouted angrily. Student Qing Qing was merciful enough to let you off, yet you still dared to say such words. You're simply asking for a beating. Sister Qing glared at Wang Xian indignantly. She frowned slightly when she saw him flying into the room. Forget it. I won't argue with this little fellow. If he is so arrogant, he will be at a disadvantage sooner or later. Let me say this. The goddesses of the Amethyst mercenary group are too kind. If it were me, I would have crippled him long ago. That's right, that's right. Everyone said in a fawning manner. All right, distribute the thunderfish. I will take out the spiritual stones that are equivalent in value to the thunderfish. The vice leader of the Amethyst mercenary group opened his mouth and ended their conversation. All right, all right. Everyone hurriedly nodded their heads. According to their respective strengths, they obtained the corresponding spirit stones. Another person is coming. In less than 5 minutes, they saw another person flying towards them. This time, there were about 20 people flying over. It's Yunhahai, a group of Young Masters mercenary group. The vice leader of Young Masters mercenary group is here personally? What are they trying to do? They brought quite a number of people, as well as the experts outside the academy. Everyone looked over, their gazes sharp, and their faces revealed astonishment. A group of 20 people flew towards the Thunder Island. In the middle was a handsome young man with 3 special stripes on his face. Beside him were 5 young men and more than 10 middle-aged men. These middle-aged men were not students of the Demon Hunters Academy, but belonged to the Young Masters mercenary group. The Demon Hunters Academy students could establish a mercenary group to recruit members from outside the academy. The strength of recruiting members from outside the academy could not exceed the founder. The academy would conduct an investigation on the mercenary groups with members from outside the academy. Once it was discovered that an external force had used the identity of the Demon Hunters Academy's students to obtain benefits, they would be severely punished by the Demon Hunters Academy. No one dared to exploit this loophole. In the academy, The top 10 mercenary groups all had external members. Furthermore, they were all very powerful. The external members of the young master's mercenary group were even more powerful. Beside Yunhahai, there were 2 experts at Transcendent level rank 6. The rest were all at Transcendent level rank 4 and rank 5. Deputy Leader Xiao. Yunhahai looked at the people on the island and looked at the deputy leader of the Amethyst mercenary group in the middle. He was all smiles. Yes. Deputy Leader Xiao nodded his head faintly. Did you see that freshman Wang Xian? Yunhahai looked around and asked with a smile. Yes, I saw him. Deputy Leader Yun, that guy just went in. When a student heard his words, he quickly pointed inside and said, Oh? Thank you. Let's go and meet that freshman who dared to threaten us. Deputy Leader Xiao, goodbye. Yunhahai looked inside and walked in with a smile. The experts from the young master's mercenary group actually rushed over. Even Vice Captain Yun is here. It seems that Wang Xian won't be able to leave this place this time. He's definitely going to be killed by the young master's mercenary group. Otherwise, Vice Captain Yun wouldn't be here. I think that kid is courting death. He's too arrogant. He's done for now. The surrounding students watched Yunhahai and his group enter the Thunder Island and discussed in hushed voices. HMPH, that kid is going to be unlucky. It's not just unlucky. With young master's mercenary group's despicable and vicious nature, that freshman is going to die. A few girls from Amethyst's mercenary group also said in hushed voices. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.